la, 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 la. My chérie, you're more lovely as a summer day. My chérie, you're more distant as the Milky Way. My chérie, you're more pretty little one that I adore. You're the only girl my heart beats for. How I wish that you were mine. In a cafe, or sometimes on a crowded street, I've been near you. That's how easy love can be.
Sometimes I dream I have you jeans. I love when they look 5 sizes too big on me.
There's so much room.
So much room.
You might assume, like Mike, I want to dress like Mike. Like Mike, I want to dress like Mike. Oh, if I could dress like Mike, I cannot lie. People ask me why.
So many rips and tears, they really came that way. I dream of pleats
And cloth dragging past my feet. Like Mike, I want to dress like Mike. I want to dress like Mike. Like Mike, I want to dress like Mike. I want to dress like Mike. Like Mike, I want to dress like Mike.
somebody when I can't say nothing else. I like to say it.
The name above names, worthy of all his praise, that still ain't enough, yeah. You don't know how hard I prayed, and he looked in my grave and he told me get up, yeah. At times I wanted to give up, told me trust him, even with faith the same size as the mustard seed, yeah. That was enough to me right where I'm at. Free me from places that I can't go back. Reckless to righteous when Christ is in that. Caught on his name cause his power's unmatched. Had me in shackles till he broke the chain. Killing my flesh, he's my license for that. Renew my mind, so my mindset for that. When they set up, I got can't be set back. Ready, set, go. Yeah, he made me ready, he set me up, then told me go.
FYF Sports, man. It's Lamont, man. We back, man. Appreciate y'all being here, man. Salute to one Mike, man. Keep it 100, Trey 82, Judah, everybody watching on Newsbreak. Appreciate you guys always tuning in to the embedded video, running up the numbers, man. That's always much appreciated. Rap Guy Reloaded. Appreciate you, Olo, man. One of the OGs. Appreciate you reaching out on IG. And Olo, my bad, man. Sometimes your messages on IG end up like in a folder that is real weird. I don't know how, but I switched it up now. So now I'm getting all your messages, man. So I'm gonna be getting back with you. Salute to Judah, man, as well. RT the brand. We gotta talk about it, man. Thank you, Max. Yeah, mate. Feel free. If anybody's spamming, just make sure to put them on timeout first. Block them if they keep spamming, and then also my mods, y'all. Sometimes I've been getting DMs from people saying that the mods are going too crazy, man, blocking and timing people out. And to be honest, we really don't block, especially the block button. Maybe time out, but we're really not blocking too many people over here unless they going crazy. So the main thing is just let people say what they need to say in the chat. I mean, if it ain't really disrupting the chat, if it ain't nothing egregious or disrespectful, then let them be, let them live, right? Because we want to welcome all people on FYF Sports, and we especially want them to be able to hit the link and pull up. And I see you guys are getting here. We got to talk about it today, y'all. We got to talk about it. Legault James Kingdom says 90s defense, hella overrated. I've been saying that. LeGoat James Kingdom. I mean, I think it's a very simple equation, LeGoat James Kingdom. And I don't even think is that I don't know how any defense in the 90s can be elite with illegal defense rules. The illegal defensive rules are a built-in handicap. There is just no way you can be an elite defense with illegal defense in the game in the 90s. It's a built-in handicap. How do we know it was a built-in handicap? Because as soon as they removed it going into the 2000s, essentially overnight, every team became an elite defensive team. Because coaches were able to deploy a full defensive playbook, and they were no longer handcuffed by rules that limited what they could do. He said, I think the 80s, well, the 80s doesn't proclaim to be a great defensive era. I mean, outside of a handful of teams, the 80s really lauds itself over superstar power and offense. I mean, if you think about just being honest about the era, I think the 80s and 80s fans, I think they're the most logical and the most honest about their era. But outside of the 80s, there's a lot of gas thrown at the 70s. There's a lot of extra juice, especially thrown at the 90s. There's not enough credit given to the 2000s. We know why not enough credit is given to the 2000s. And obviously today, players of the day just are not getting no credit whatsoever. I mean, it's just getting ridiculous. I'm going to show you something that I read. This was from Draymond Green. It says on Wednesday's episode of First Take, ESPN sports media personality Stephen A. Smith claimed to have gotten a highly valued opinion about Steph Curry's game, about how Steph Curry's game would have translated to previous eras. Remember, this is Stephen A. Smith with one of his sources. Remember, they're always unnamed. Nobody wants to put a name on it. It's always some shadowy figure. And Stephen A. Smith, with another one of these so-called sources, shadowy figures, gave him some type of revelation that he just thought was pure genius. And it said that Stephen A. Smith said on First Take, he said, I had a Hall of Famer come up to me and said to me, Steph Curry would not average more than 17 points per game in our era. We would have hurt him, Stephen A. Smith said. It's unclear who the Hall of Famer was, according to Clutch Points. This all comes shortly after Warrior star Draymond Green said that just because you played before me does not mean you deserve respect. And that's per the Draymond Green Show podcast. And in all reality, I agree. And base Kev, and the fact that Stephen A. Smith would go onto his podcast and say that. So he would only average 17 because you can't stop him. So he would only average 17 because you guys had lacked discipline, because you didn't have any team defensive schemes, because you didn't have anybody with the intestinal fortitude to take up the defensive assignment of actually stopping them within the confines of the rules. What you're going to do then is because you can't stop them, your only option left, according to Stephen A. Smith, would be to hurt him, not foul him, because obviously if you send him to the free throw line, he's going to make every free throw. You're looking at a guy that's a 90% free throw shooter. So they didn't say they would foul Steph. They didn't say they would clamp him up, because the one thing you got to give guys today is that they will say, I'm going to go clamp you up. You don't hear players today running around saying, I'm going to hack you up. I'm going to yank you out the air. I'm going to push you in the back when you go for a layup. The last time I checked, y'all, and many of you guys hooping 24/7 fitnesses and LA fitnesses and all these places, the last time I checked, those guys had a very particular name. That's called being a hack. Hacks are generally the sorriest players on the court. And it's surprising to me that nobody has came on the ESPN and mentioned this and reminded Stephen A. Smith of this. When have hacks and guys that foul and intentionally try to hurt people ever been welcomed in a game of basketball? Hacking and fouling and trying to hurt people has always been a sign of frustration. And generally, that frustration is derived from the fact that you can't guard the other person. And then all the while, Stephen A. Smith brings this up. He brings this up on ESPN. He wants to pretend as if this isn't some level of disrespect. Stephen A. Smith pretends as if players of the day aren't supposed to feel some type of way when he uses his platform, not to talk about the greatness of Nikola Jokic, not to talk about the greatness of Gilgeous-Alexander, not to talk about the great defense of the Cleveland Cavaliers, not to talk about the resurgence of the Detroit Pistons, not to talk about the bounce back of the Golden State Warriors after the trade. But he uses his platform, out of all the bright ideas, out of all the great topics that he can come up with, Stephen A. Smith decides to say that some random unnamed Hall of Famer walked up to him out of the blue, probably after Curry dropped 50, and somebody was sitting in their house jealous and said he wouldn't average more than. Now, I want y'all to really think about it. We didn't watch a supremely large sample size of Steph Curry. Ain't nobody stopping Steph Curry unless Steph Curry just want to stop himself, unless he just missing shots. We're gonna get to these old heads and why they do this. Before we do that, though, I wanna take y'all through. And let me share my screen here. I want to take y'all through two clips. Obviously the ESPN clip, and then also another clip where they were actually reacting to this clip. And I'm going to show you why a lot of these old minds and this old way of thinking, why it's part of a big problem, right? Because what we're ultimately going to hear is we're going to hear a lot of crying about players of the day, but they're not really telling you why. It's just a cry fest. Let me get this clip up here. Where's my clip at? Salute to Mahari in the chat, man. Salute to B Pierce Sports, Renegade in the chat, one of the OGs of the channel. Appreciate you pulling up. We got King Rowe. King Rowe says, it's not hate or a slight at Curry, it's observation. King Rowe, we know it's hate because we know that ain't nobody just holding Steph Curry to no 17 points. Because we know that fouling Steph Curry won't stop him. It'll just send him to the free throw line. When you say that you're going to hurt Steph Curry, that means what you're saying is you think he's so soft that you can foul him one time and he's going to completely crumple and fold and not be able to do what he does. Y'all think we can't really delineate what y'all trying to say. When y'all say that y'all gonna foul and hack and hurt players, is what y'all are really saying. We think he mentally weak, and if I foul him and hack him hard enough, he ain't gonna want to shoot or drive no more. That's what y'all saying. Because you can't just foul and hack Steph Curry and send him to the free throw all game. He gonna have 40 if you send him to the free throw line, because he gonna make every free throw. These defensive strategies of fouling and hacking, this is why I know I'm 100% positive in the understanding that there was no defense being played in the 90s. Because y'all have the slightest clue of what real defense is if you think hacking is going to stop a guy like Steph Curry. Yeah, and the funniest part about it is old heads really think that fouls solve anything. Old heads don't understand the fact that fouling, good players, great scorers love to get fouled. Those are the easiest 2 points of the game that they can score. Great players are going to invite you to foul them. They want to go to the free throw line and get them extra points on your head. But y'all think, I think a lot of these old heads thinks that their version of fouling was so scary. I mean, I don't know if the NBA allowed them to have daggers or small knives when they jumped up and fouled. And when they jumped up and fouled, they could also stab you or something. I don't know what's going on with the fouls. They think that they fouls is something special. Because when I go back and look at the 90s, I saw a few hard fouls get doled out, but I didn't see anything other than what I see today. Every other game, there's a hard foul here or there, but it's not nothing constant enough for me to worry about. I can pull up literally. I can just randomly go to YouTube and pull up any game from the 90s, and I'm almost positive we can watch that entire game and we will not see a hard foul. Yeah, y'all make it seem like it was rough and it was tough, and any game I pull up, we're going to see people getting punched in the mouth and yanked out the air. But then the more I watch those 90s and 80s games, the more I see that these are some of the softest defenses of all time. Let me get this clip, y'all. It's crazy, man. He says Curry built for softball. That sounds good. He says fouling to stop a player is no, it's if all you can do to foul somebody, if all you can do is just foul them to stop them, then you're probably going to be on the bench. There's no coach in his right mind that wants to hack away, put the team in foul trouble, put the other team in the bonus, put your team at a significant disadvantage because you want to go out there and hack. What coach is inviting fouls to this degree? It makes no sense. All right, I got the clip right here. Let me share my screen. He says they love prison ball. And the funniest thing about it, at Bezo the Prophet, I'm going to tell you the funniest thing about it. Everybody want to talk about prison ball. When I was coaching Purdue University club basketball team, we took our guys to into a prison to play a game versus the prisoners. Westville Correctional Facility, the guy that runs the rec department over at Westville Correctional Facility in Indiana, his name is Dan Palambizio. He was Indiana Mr. Basketball. He played in the NBA for a couple of years. Most of his career, he played overseas. He runs the rec department. I brought the ideal up to him. He said, yeah, we got it's a team in the prison called a state team, right? It's basically the best players in the prison. When we went in there to play them, it was the same basketball that we see today. Even in prisons, they don't play this prison ball style that y'all talk about. It was just as physical. They were just as talented. And when they went to defend, they weren't grabbing and hacking and yanking people out the air because it was so quote unquote prison ball. It was just regular basketball. This is in a real prison. So even the version of prison ball that people claim, that is a version of prison ball that people just get off TV. They watch they watch Prison Break or some weird show on TV, and they think, oh, that's how it go down. It don't go down like that. Do you really think guys in prisons just hacking and beating each other up? You fouled me. Let me go get the shank. No, it don't work like that. They just trying to hoop. But see, when people like Stephen A. Smith, they try to get you to believe that basketball was completely reinvented after 2010, and the version of basketball that they see today, they ain't never seen before. And they pretend as if we can't go back and watch the games from the 90s. And then when we actually go back and watch, what do they do, y'all? Y'all see it all the time. They get mad at us for going back and watch it. The other day, when I pulled up that game from the 1977 NBA All-Star game, and I can show y'all real quick too. Let me, before I get to this clip with Draymond Green, let me show y'all something. Because I showed some people the other day on the channel. I want y'all to see this. And I'm going to show you how much they just lie and cap. Curry, no defense, was able to get by because he never missed a shot. Curry does play defense. That's another myth. Steph Curry's disadvantage in the NBA is that he's a small guard. Do y'all know that in basketball, height and size is king? If you are bigger and taller, you're just going to be better at the game of basketball. The game of basketball favors players on both sides of the basketball if you are taller. If you are a small guard, you're probably going to struggle defensively versus guys that are towering over you. I mean, Steph Curry, they're probably gassing his height. Steph Curry at best is probably 6'1", 6'2". Now, I want y'all to ask yourselves, what the hell is he supposed to do with Anthony Edwards, who's a bona fide 6'7"? What is he supposed to do with shooting guards that are walking around at 6'6", 6'7", and even sometimes 6'8"? What the hell is he supposed to do when KD walks in close to 7 feet tall out there on the perimeter? You get switched off to him on the pick and roll. Y'all say that these guys can't play defense. Have you ever tried to go defend somebody that's 6'6", 6'7"? And it don't even have to be an NBA player. Just go get a college player. Steph Curry is not 6'3". I've been courtside and I've stood and I've seen him. He's not 6'3". Edwards is way taller than 6'4". I've seen him. That's why I said Edwards is pushing 6'6". I've stood next to him. These heights are fugazi. These heights are 1000% fugazi. And it's crazy, man. Let me see if this is it right here. I don't even know if I can find it. We got All Ball TV. Salute. Appreciate you pulling up. All Ball TV says, we going with evolution. I mean, you have to. He says, we going with evolution. That's all you really got a choice to do. The game is evolving, and it's evolving quick. And I just think old heads are resistant to change. They hate to see the game changing. They hate to see that these players are thriving under new rules. They hate to see that these players are doing what they couldn't do. Not something that they weren't allowed to do. They hate that these players are doing what they struggled to do, and they're excelling at it. And they're getting the green light to do it from coaches. All right, I'm gonna find that clip later. I can't find the game right now. I'm gonna pull it up, but we're gonna get to this Draymond Green clip. And I want y'all to hear what Draymond Green had to say. Share my screen. And I want y'all to let me know y'all thoughts as y'all get through this clip. Now, this is how sorry Stephen A. Smith's point was. His point was so sorry that Molly, remember, Molly Karam is somebody that we've got on this show because sometimes she butts in and she adds in talking points that we feel don't necessarily belong. Stephen A's point was so illogical because remember, Stephen A now has to try to cover. He has to try to cover for all the old heads that unprovoked take all these shots at today's era. And so basically he's saying that all these old heads are mad because these players today got better equipment, more money, better ways to take care of their body so they can have longevity. So basically what Stephen A is basically saying is all the old heads is jealous. And Molly did a good job of pointing out, we don't never hear all the old heads crying about what they did have or didn't have. We don't see videos of the Dr. J's and all these old heads crying about, oh, we didn't have flights. We had to take buses. Oh, we had Chuck Taylors. We didn't have the Nikes. We don't hear what the old heads are coming out and saying is they're coming out and saying these guys is trash. What is Stephen A? Remember the quote that I gave y'all from Stephen A. Smith, right? Did this quote from the unnamed Hall of Famer? Did this unnamed Hall of Famer say that Steph Curry, that Steph Curry is scoring better because of his shoes? No. Stephen A said some unnamed random Hall of Famer told him, I had a Hall of Famer come up to me and say Steph Curry would not average more than 17 points a game. In our era, we would have hurt him. What does that have to do with advantages, disadvantages, things of that nature? He's just making this stuff up on the fly. He's just making it up on the fly. And he more than likely probably made up this random Hall of Famer that he said would hold Steph Curry to 17 points. It's all made up. And I'm glad that Molly called him out on the BS because she said, you ain't say nothing about on the basketball court. And all these old heads do is cry about the basketball court. They cry about the threes. They cry about the physicality. They cry about on the court stuff. Stephen A is mentioning a whole bunch of stuff that we have never heard them cry about. This is how we know Stephen A. Smith is just caught up in another lie. Let's finish that. Anybody in the chat, give me one player ever that said that. Give me one player that said, oh, if I had the money, the shoes, the advancements, that I could be just as good as Steph. What old players are making these allegations? What old players are not denigrating? This is Stephen A. Smith is just lying because Stephen A. Smith knows that he's bundled up into this group that Draymond is talking about. A whole bunch of washed up hoopers, has-beens wishing they could do what players today do. None of these old players are saying what Stephen A. Smith said. You can't find me a quote. You can't give me a name. You can't give me one player that has been saying these things. And this is why Stephen A. Smith hasn't mentioned any names.
Sometimes that's interpreted.
Who say, hey, y'all, who is saying this? What players are saying if we had, what players are saying this? Who is saying this? Is it John Stockton? Did John Stockton say, if I had Under Armour instead of Converse, I would have been better? What is he saying? Is Charles Barkley saying, what is Charles Barkley saying? What are all these old heads saying? When did they say this stuff? This is why Stephen A. Smith's getting frustrated. Russo, and I'm going to pull this back up. I'm going to drop this down. The first thing he said was, I don't know who Draymond is referring to. Well, let me tell y'all who he's referring to, y'all. I'm going to tell you who he's referring to. And we're going to go through all of these quotes here. We got James Worthy. The players today don't hate each other. Guys are coming into the NBA without any fundamentals. All they do is practice threes. Only some lift weights. They get tattoos, tweet, and go on social media. That's it. It says, Big Game James Worthy blamed the modern AAU to NBA pipeline for producing players with flashy skills but lacking the basics. That's what James Worthy said. Right? So when we talk about Draymond Green is talking about people like that. We got players like Rick Barry. He says players today are getting away with murder. The Hall of Famer tried to praise modern players' talent, but argued the lack of officiating enforcement. He says they're allowing guys to travel and carry, and they're calling too many soft fouls, making the game too easy for them. Essentially, calling today's game undisciplined and soft. That's what Rick Barry said. That's who Draymond Green is talking about. People like Rick Barry. He's calling the players of the day soft and undisciplined. Right? We can do it some more. Dr. J in 2023, right? These guys, the prisoners are running the show and not the warden. A star player on a team is like, screw this city and all the support they've given me. I'm going somewhere else. Irving bemoaned the player empowerment era, comparing it to inmates running the asylum. He argues modern stars have too much freedom. They're able to force trades. They're able to team up, and believes the lack of loyalty and structure hurts the league's competitive balance. And this comes from a guy who only won a championship in the NBA because they were able to create a super team. Because they were able to acquire a league MVP in Moses Malone. He had one of the few super teams of the 80s and won a championship, and it wasn't organic. It was derived from pulling stars from other teams, yet he's complaining about player empowerment. That's Dr. J right there. These are the people that Draymond Green is talking about. So when Chris Russo says, I don't know who he's talking about, I can go on and on and on. We got Gary Payton. He says, I could never play basketball in this soft era. All of my contract money would go towards fines. The Hall of Fame guard tweeted, the NBA is so soft and tightly officiated. Now you got Gary Payton crying, running around again, calling players of the day soft. These are the people that Draymond Green's talking about. We got Dennis Rodman in 2013. If LeBron was playing in the 80s or the early 90s, he'd just be an average player. Rodman flatly stated LeBron James, a dominant modern superstar, wouldn't dominate the tougher, more physical Jordan era. He added that if Michael Jordan played today at age 28, he easily averaged 40 points per game. These are the people that Draymond Green is talking about. They say and when you talk about today's players, they've really kind of zipped their mouths and they've really kind of held off and refrained from completely barbecuing these older eras. It wasn't really until LeBron James did it. We've only had a few instances before of these players really letting loose, barbecuing the older eras. But these guys just say reckless stuff and it goes unchecked because all the other old heads just run around and agree with it. Who with a brain will agree that LeBron James would be an average player in the 80s? When Rodman could essentially be an all-star in the 80s without any offensive repertoire whatsoever. Rodman could be an all-star caliber player without a jump shot, without a three-point shot, without a mid-range, without a layup package. He completely forgot one entire side of the basketball court and was able to be an all-star. Yet LeBron James, who in his prime showed himself to be elite on both sides, would be average. Makes absolutely no sense. We can keep going. We can keep going. We got Charles Oakley on Giannis Antetokounmpo, because remember, they talked about LeBron saying something positive about Giannis Antetokounmpo, but Charles Oakley in 2022 says Giannis Antetokounmpo, he says he struggled. He would struggle in the 90s. This is what Charles Oakley said. He said somebody would knock his head off. He'd come off the bench back in the day. Oakley asserted that even a current MVP like Giannis would be too soft for the more physical 80s and 90s style and would not start in that era. So it's okay for Charles Oakley to run around and say that Giannis would not be an MVP. He said that Giannis would come off the bench, and he said if Giannis even tried to drive, they would knock his head off. That's what they said. And he says Giannis is too soft for the 80s and the 90s. But see, it's okay for him to exaggerate to the negative. The media will let that slide, right? And he said that to Fox News. So it wasn't like he said it to some underground news publication. He said that on Fox News. So it's okay. And remember, and all LeBron did was say something about Giannis to the positive in the past. But it's okay for people to tear down Giannis and say that he would be trash in the past. But no, that goes unchecked. So when Stephen A. Smith and when guys like Chris Russo try to lie to you and they try to run around and pretend, oh, they're not talking about the players' games. They just talking about the conditions. These are lies. And the only reason he's lying because Stephen A is one of those people that have went down the road of being this toxic and negative about players, running with false narratives, just like he ran with the false narrative of LeBron James not being at Kobe Bryant's memorial service. He will run with any narrative unchecked, without facts, not using any real basketball logic whatsoever. We can keep going down the list. And I have right here in front of me, I have over 182 quotes from players, from past players, over 182 quotes. And so when they sit there and pretend as if we're just making this stuff up, this is why we call BS. This is why we say they lack credibility. We're going to play the rest of this. We'll play a little bit more, but we know Chris Russo, he's 100% not going to really have anything intelligent to add to this conversation. He literally just said what Charles Oakley said. He ran straight to the narrative. He couldn't hold it in no more. First he pretended like he ain't never heard nobody say this stuff. And then as his frustration started to build, Giannis in the 80s, Giannis wouldn't have got no layups. We would have knocked him to the ground and fouled him. You would have knocked Giannis Antetokounmpo to the ground and fouled him. I want you to really think about that. Now, I want y'all to really think back to 80s basketball and think of all the players that drove to the basket unabated. Driving to the basket was so easy in the late 80s that even the commentators in the game would complain about it. I got a clip I'm going to show you guys. Commentators would even complain. There's too much guys just waltzing to the rim unabated. The commentator essentially said there's only one team in the league that actually defends the rim, which was the Detroit Pistons. Who are all these players that were just slapping guys to the ground? And these guys right here, they call anything physicality. You drive to the ground, you have a little contact, you make the layup and fall down. They're going to pretend as if this is some level of extreme physicality that we've never seen. When we watch games every day today, we see guys drive, get contact, no foul is called, they fall to the ground, get up, have to run the other way. Oh man. Stephen A. and Chris Russo, both just completely barbecued by Molly Karam. Who would have thought, man? Salute to Molly Karam, man, coming through. This might be her first max ether on First Take, man. Molly Karam with a max ether, man. And all they had to do was just not lie to avoid this max ether. And you see the smile, and you know it's true because the other lady on the show, as soon as Molly said it, busted out laughing because she knows that Molly is in her bag right now just cooking. Watch, I'm going to rewind it back. Look at Stephen A. Head down, and then watch what Chris Russo says. Probably, she is just breaking them down with just pure logic and common sense. That's what Draymond Green and them get tired of hearing. Stephen A. Smith and these guys pushing this narrative that playing back then was so much more difficult than playing now. We would have tripped. We wouldn't have allowed Steph Curry's ankle to heal. What kind of didn't Kobe Bryant kill the hand-checking argument a long time ago? Like, don't these guys learn? Didn't Kobe Bryant say a hand check is absolutely worthless and pointless and does nothing? Didn't Kobe Bryant say that if you're a great ISO scorer, I don't care if you hand check me, guys like me, T-Mac, Steph Curry. He says, I don't care if you hand check us with 3 hands. We gonna still cook your ass. Didn't Kobe Bryant kill this fake hand check narrative a long time ago? It's fake. And then also what I tell people is this. If you don't believe what I'm saying about the hand check, then go to any gym where there are elite high school players, college players. It don't even have to be NBA players. And I want you to go up to a guard and I want you to try to hand check him. And I want you to tell me what ultimately happens when you talk about guys that know what to do with their basketball, guys that aren't going to go back to the basket and try to shield the basketball because they don't have a handle. I want you to try to hand check them. And I want you to come back and tell your story about the results. We got Mr. Winters in the chat, y'all. This era is sensitive and soft. Okay. That's your problem. Sensitive and soft. Okay. It's just funny how you never said that about Jordan. When we got a plethora of tape and audio and video of Jordan crying and complaining about rules. I even got a newspaper clipping of Jordan even admitting. I got it right here. Of Jordan even admitting that he cried and complained and got the rules changed. I was so amazed when I'm gonna read this article to y'all. I'm gonna email it to myself so I can put it on the screen. I'm gonna read this to you. This is from the Chicago Tribune, 1991. This is a quote from Jordan. It says, Detroit's been very successful with their style, and other teams tried to copy it because they were successful, and that's not good for the game, said Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan further stated, we've taken the good boy image and walked away, Jordan added. Jordan also added, we may have complained about the fouls and told the teacher or whatever, but we never tried to lower ourselves to that level. Jordan even admitted to the Chicago Tribune, he said, we may have complained and cried about it. He says we may have complained and cried about it and told the teacher or whatever, but we never tried to lower ourselves to that level. This is what Michael Jordan himself said. And I'm going to make sure I put this on the screen because I know a lot of you guys are going to say it's not true. Jordan himself said, we complained about the fouls and we told the teacher. So it's just funny to me how players like Michael Jordan can cry and complain so much so that they implement this flagrant foul rule that you guys now hate so much and call soft. And it was all implemented because of Jordan. It was so weird that y'all never said anything about the fact that Magic Johnson, when he was with Larry Bird and he whispered to Michael Jordan, man, you can't get close to him without it being a foul. But you never made a big deal about that. You never talked about how the 1990s era of basketball averaged more fouls per game than any other era in basketball when y'all talk about the volume of fouls being called. But then y'all always say that players today are soft and crying. But when players But when we pull up documented proof of your favorite players crying and begging for rule changes, when we pull up information of Jordan begging for the league not to bring back the 2-3 zone because it would have been too hard for him to navigate as an offensive player, when we pull up proof of Jordan crying right here, and I'm gonna make sure I put the article on the screen here in a few minutes so y'all can see it. Y'all don't never call Jordan soft. Everything Jordan did was rough, tough, and it was the hardest grind that you've ever seen. Mr. Winter says they made something called the Jordan rule specifically made to aggress MJ. No, the Jordan rules, why don't you just give Chuck Daly credit for being a great defensive coach? The Jordan rules were defensive principles that people still use today. The Jordan rules did not consist of hacking Jordan. The Jordan rules was essentially the results of a great scouting report. This is how we're going to defend Michael Jordan. If he goes here, this is what we do. If he goes right, this is what we do. If he gets into the lane, this is what we do. There was nothing in the Jordan rules that said hurt him. And if Jordan was running around getting hurt because of fouls in the 80s, that might be one of the reasons why he got his ass in the weight room. Which is what players today do. Steph Curry, too small, too light in the ass. They don't win that championship in 2022 if he don't get in the weight room. Draymond Green talked about it. He can handle the physicality better, but y'all don't ever mention that. I mean, just y'all run with these narratives and lies. Y'all make stuff up. It's wild, man. Shake 'em, bake 'em says Jordan rules were to get physical with MJ. No, that's not what the Jordan rules were. Literally, I've shown you guys what the Jordan rules were. It's literally a list of defensive principles of how to defend him. There is nothing in the Jordan rules that say beat him up and hurt him. And if simple defensive tactics force Jordan to run to the league and cry about fouls to get a flagrant foul rule implemented, how is that not soft? And when Jordan admits to being one of the sole proprietors as to why the league implemented these rule changes, why don't you call it soft? No, Mr. Winters, you don't know what you saw in the late 80s, Mr. Winters. Because when I go back and watch the games in the 80s, I don't see all of this guys getting clothesline out the air. What I see is a compilation of the same hard fouls that y'all regurgitate over and over, and y'all pretend as if people were getting hard fouled every single game when that was not the case. You're gonna rerun that same clip of Karl Malone fouling Isaiah Thomas, and you're gonna act like Karl Malone was cracking people and knocking them out the air every single game. You're gonna show that same foul of Bill Laimbeer bringing two arms down on Jordan, knocking him to the ground, and you're gonna pretend like every time Jordan drove to the basket, Bill Laimbeer was just waiting there, ready to snatch him out the air. Y'all have like 6 or 7 clips from the 80s that y'all got on rerun, and you pretend as if this is indicative of an entire 10-year era. I can literally click on any game from the 80s. We can sit here and play it, and I promise you, we will not see no hard fouls. I can just go to any random game on YouTube right now, click play, and just let it play, and we'll just sit here and wait for the hard foul, and we won't see it because you guys make this stuff up. And just like Stephen A. Smith is doing here, just like Chris Russo is doing when they say that guys are going to take Giannis out the air. Do you know how hard it's going to be to take a guy like Giannis out the air without getting dunked on and embarrassed? And secondly, what guys just want to foul and foul and foul just so they have to go sit their ass on the bench because they in foul trouble. Some of this stuff just makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Go ahead and foul. 3 fouls in the first half, sit your ass on the bench. Now we got an advantage. Now you got to put some absolute scrubs in the game. The stuff that y'all say makes no sense. Mr. Winter says, Draymond, one of the dirtiest players. Now Draymond's dirty. I thought you would think, Mr. Winters, the way y'all proclaimed the 90s and the 80s was so tough that you would have a little bit more of an appreciation for a guy like Draymond Green. If there's anybody in today's game that is representative of a 90s players, it would be Draymond Green. And you can't even respect him in what he does. You're calling Draymond Green sensitive because he called out the obvious facts. Why the hell should we respect these old eras when they don't respect us? And primarily is because y'all don't give them their flowers. Now, see, Mr. Winters, now do you see how dumb you sound now? Draymond Green is not close to a 90s player. Now, you now have to go to such desperate, hot statements and takes that you are willing to say that Draymond Green is not representative of what one of these physical 90s players were. He's probably the closest thing we have. And the funny thing about it is he's still far more skilled offensively than the majority of those scrub power forwards of the 90s. See, y'all get mad at me because I just call it for what it is. When I say the big men were trash, the big men were trash. When I say the big men were fat and out of shape, the big men were fat and out of shape. When I say, how can it be a big man era when it was dominated by a 180-pound 6'6" guard? Well, yeah, it's not a big man era. When a center could only win a championship in the 90s when that 6'6" guard wasn't in the league, well, it's not a big man era. Y'all applaud all these. Y'all talk about championships and being champions. I don't want to hear about Ewing there. You talk about not quitting and giving up on your team, then I don't want to hear about Akeem. You talk about only being great offensively and not playing no defense. What I don't want to hear about no Chris Webber. See, now, Mr. Winters, now you're giving us 2000s players. I didn't say nothing about the 2000s. Jermaine O'Neal, Rasheed Wallace are 2000s players. Why the hell are you talking to me about 2000s players? Because in all reality, the 2000s players are the only era that give today's players any credit. Y'all gotta stop, man. Gotta stop with this nonsense, man. We're gonna drop the link. We're gonna bring y'all up here to cook. But before I drop the link to bring you up and cook, I wanted to get to a reaction to what Draymond Green said from another podcast. And I don't even know how this popped up on my feed, but it was a reaction to what he said. And the reaction was kind of interesting. And it just kind of furthermore proves exactly what I've been saying. Let me get to this clip right here. Okay, here it is right here. All right, let me play this clip here. Let me connect my other hard drive. I'm gonna connect my other hard drive so we can get these clips rolling. Give me 1 sec, y'all.
Has the generations passed the respect buck down to this particular generation, which we argue on this show all the time, and then versus have they earned or respected this new generation? And is it real talk or jaw-jacking that Baron Davis said absolutely you should respect the generation before you that paved the way? So that's kind of the real talk.
It's a lot of pieces there. I'll go in reverse. I agree with BD. You have to respect the people that came before you because they laid the foundation in place for you to have an opportunity to participate in playing the sport, number one. Number two, though, to Draymond's point, I do see a lot of like the OGs, making comments about this generation not being able to couldn't hang if they played in the 80s or played in the 90s. This generation is too soft, or this wouldn't work, that wouldn't work, et cetera. So I do think there is a handful of like OGs that don't give the proper respect to today's talent. But on the flip side, though, too, I see some OGs praising these guys too. So I think like whatever you're looking for, you'll find it. But I guess my answer overall would be real talk overall, but there's nuance in between it. You know what I'm saying? So, but Sean, let's hear from you.
Draymond's a clown, and all his peers are clowns.
Jeez.
There would not be the level of compensation that exists now if it wasn't for their predecessors. So if you to say they haven't earned your...
You see, this is why nobody even listens to these dudes. One, they don't even know how to stick to the conversation. He couldn't even address the topic, one, without the ad hom attack. So the first thing he don't know Draymond. He ain't really heard him out. He ain't contextualized the talking points. First thing he just say is, oh, he's a clown and all his peers are clowns. He's a clown and all his peers are clowns. So I want y'all to think about it. So they wonder why people like Draymond absolutely have zero respect for them. Now, I want you to listen to the younger guy's response, which was more sensible. He gave credit to both sides. He even saw both sides of the spectrum, and he said it's actually some older guys that do give credit, which there are. But he said there are some older guys out there that hate. They call this era soft, and they do be capping on this era. And and all of a sudden, when we get to the old head on the panel, listen to how he talks, man. We're going to run it back 10 seconds. Listen to this, man.
Jeez.
There would not be the level of compensation that exists now if it wasn't for their predecessors. So for you to say they haven't earned your respect, what the fuck are you talking about?
My point.
Them dudes got it from the mud. They didn't have no load management. They didn't get together in the offseason and say, hey, I don't like my coach. Well, who got the best coach? Let's all get together. Not saying that Draymond did it. He stayed in Golden State.
Because he don't do it.
Not a lot of that because, why would you ever leave Steph Curry? But I'm just saying his overall thought process is why the previous generation has an issue with this generation. They wouldn't have access to what they have access to without those guys going through what they went through. And they've disrespected it. They've become these entitled brats that think people owe them something.
No question. Enabled, entitled, there's no question. That's where I was at. The same take I had is basically what you just said. I'll add the fact that he said he kept using the word that Smitty just said, earned. Well, where I'm from, respect earned is respect given.
Right.
You haven't fucking earned it yet for us to give it. And that's the problem. And that's where I don't agree at all.
And this is, we talk about this all the time in the Jordan conversation. And what I say all the time, y'all, is it don't seem like there's nothing that players of the day can do to make these old heads happy. There's nothing that they can do. They can stay. Remember, he even admitted Draymond Green stayed on one team and has won championships. And he doesn't play like the traditional player, yet he still called him a clown and said all his peers was clown. It don't matter what they do. It don't matter how many championships they win. It don't matter how they win the championships. You can win championships all on one team, just like we've seen Steph Curry and Draymond do, but he still said that Draymond Green and all his peers was clowns. You can win championships getting it out the mud, like Nikola Jokic did, bringing a team from nothing to something. They still calling Nikola Jokic soft. It don't matter. It don't matter if you do it like the Boston Celtics crew. That was their two stars were organic and homemade. Yet what do? They kill Jason Tatum. They call him not clutch. They call him soft. There's nothing you can do to make these old heads happy. And they pretend as if all of these young guys are just making all these gripes up about all their complaints. How can the young guys earn the older guys' respect if nothing they do you guys are going to ever respect? If the only thing that these old dudes are doing is looking down on the younger generation, not with pride, but they're looking down on the younger generation jealous. Like these two old dudes on the panel remind me of y'all know some of them. Even some of y'all have some of these, them single baby mamas who have a baby at 13, 14. And when they 30 and the daughter 18, they trying to go to the club with their daughter, and they trying to go to the club and outdo their daughter. You trying to outshine your kid. You trying to relive your glory days. This is why. That's why I say we can run down the list of everything that all the players they're going to complain about load managing, but then when we start telling them about all the players that don't load manage, they got complaints for those guys. When you complain, when you go to LeBron James, right? Plays a ton of games, played with longevity, don't miss a lot of games unless he hurt, has won championship. Oh, he switched teams. And then we go to Steph Curry. Stayed on one team, got it out the mud, brought that team from something to nothing, won with KD, won without KD twice. Oh, he's soft because he shoot a lot of threes. It don't matter what these guys do, because they old, because they jealous, and because they bitter, they're gonna find complaints in anything, and they're gonna pretend as if it's low managing. No, just say Kawhi Leonard and Joel Embiid. Not everybody's low managing. Just put a name to it. Just say it's Kawhi Leonard and Joel Embiid. Those are the two guys that upset you with low management. If it's about moving from team to team, well, then just say LeBron and KD. That's just a comment. So far, we're at 4 players. This is not indicative of the entire era of basketball. And as they just proved, even if you do it the way that they want it to be done, they're still going to cry and complain about something. and they lump everybody into one basket. Jealous crybabies that look down on this new era of players with envy and just jealousy. Just toxic and sorry. And at the end of the day, these two guys right here, what they need to understand is these two guys right here, you guys are the fathers of what you proclaim to hate. It was your generation that raised these guys. It was your generation that birthed all these players. So if they are like that, then they're just a direct representation of who you are as parents, as fathers and grandfathers. And this is why nobody takes what these old heads say seriously, because the first thing that come out of their mouth is just complete foolery, and it makes no sense. And they do not start from logic. All they do is cry and cry and cry. And you really can't talk no sense until watch. It's probably, and I haven't even heard all this clip all the way through, but it's probably only going to get worse. And all they're going to do is cry and say you soft and all that. That's all they're going to do, cry and say you soft. And I promise you, if you put a basketball in either one of these guys' hands, they're gonna look like two WNBA players. They're gonna look like two WNBA rejects if you gave them a basketball. Because we could even you could tell these two guys, we can easily solve this. Let's just get on the basketball court. I want you to show me what it is you talking about. We know that Coach JB guy ain't gonna do nothing with a basketball. This is a football guy. This is just a dude dabbling in the basketball topics, knows nothing of what he's talking about. He just wants to call these guys soft. Who knows this middle guy? I don't know what his background is, but the way he's talking, it's hard for me to believe that he has a strong background in athletics.
With Draymond Green, not only for that reason, but for the fact that he kept saying, my mama didn't raise me that. Well, that's the fucking problem. Your mama raised you, homie. You don't have no respect for men that played before you. That's the fucking problem. So anyway, I think it is absolutely, I'm on.
That's because of what A. Johnny says. His mama raised him because these 90s fans, these Jordan fans are what? They're deadbeats. They're deadbeat fathers. Y'all were never there to raise these kids. Hey, Johnny, you're just proving a point. Do you think if Draymond Green was raised by his mom, well, it was more than likely a 90s Jordan fan that left her. One of these two guys. It's not low blows. These are facts.
BD's side of obviously another LA product that I had to guard in high school, along with Austin Crozier. Crossroads, shout out. We beat you though.
Shout out to BD, that's the homie. I was just
and so at the end of the day, we're the salty ones, brocan, non-member, bitch. But yet you're the one that won't admit that we got you motherfuckers paid astronomically. And guess what? Jordan played 82 games. How many years in a row? How many years did Kobe play? 82 games, which was on the schedule based on his paycheck. And these motherfuckers want to miss every other game and play with a hang and don't play with a hangnail. And you think you're fucking worthy? Get the fuck out of here, you soft pussy. Brocan, you're the reason why our boys are.
Jordan literally skipped an entire season of basketball because he said he couldn't take it anymore. We got articles, and let me go ahead and make sure I pull it up. We got articles. We got articles of Jordan talking about how he went to the league and told on teams that were hard fouling him, and he had no shame in it. These are the stories. I'm telling y'all, because we so far removed from these other eras of basketball, they can say and make up any story that they want. So what they try to do is they try to paint themselves in a light that like if you let them tell it, bro, they were all war heroes, right? That went overseas, fought in the wars, came back, played NBA basketball, played whatever sport. They were all of them were all high school all-stars, right? They all went to state. They all went to the state championship game, won the state. They were all multi-sport players. They played football, basketball, and track. They did it all. They were rough and they didn't miss no games. They never rolled an ankle. And if they did roll their ankle, they just ate some Wheaties, put some tape on it, went out, played the next day. They make up stories, y'all. These are made up stories. Listen to what he says. He says these guys don't play if they have a hangnail. Now, let's just realistically think about it. What guys are just randomly not playing? You could probably, and we can go throughout NBA history because I can go through the 90s and I could point out a handful of guys that was always injured. I could go through the 80s and I could point out a handful of guys that was always injured and missing games. The difference is y'all didn't have a term for it, which was load managing. And the difference also was because teams were financially robbing players, guys were worried about getting cut and not having any money, and they weren't necessarily prioritizing health. Because when you pay players of the day as an organization, when you pay them over $200+ million, you are now an investment that I have to take care of. You are not an asset that I can just throw out there, run into the ground, especially in a league where all money is guaranteed. These teams are not going to let you waltz out there and just run yourself into the ground, even if you wanted to. They could afford to do that in the 80s and 90s because they would just highway rob players and not pay them nothing. And now you become a disposable asset. That's exactly what they were doing to Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen was like the 122nd highest paid player in the league for years. This dude was a MVP. He was top 10 in MVP voting year after year. First team All-NBA, first team All-NBA defense. Did they compensate him? Did they treat him like that? Or did they just run him into the ground, allow his back to get worse and worse, and made sure that they didn't pay him? He only got paid when he left and went to Houston. But y'all got no flame or ether for the teams that ran him into the ground, essentially almost left him broke, busted, and disgusted when his career was over with. Y'all don't have no gripes for that. And then Pippen, who's literally sacrificed his money and his health just to help Jordan win championships, all Jordan fans do is shit on Scottie Pippen's legacy. Sorry, man. Sorry. This is what we dealing with, y'all. I'm going to drop the link, man. See if y'all can pull up, man. Make sure as I drop the link, man, y'all hit the Cash App to support, man. Hit the Cash App to support. Hit that link. You can also hit the PayPal. FYF Sports Debates at yahoo.com. Hit the PayPal to support as we look to do bigger and better things on FYF Sports. Obviously, the funds, these funds go to the production of the show, thumbnails for not just my show, but the other shows. All right. We saw All Ball TV that came in here. We're looking to add his show to FYF Sports. And, there's a couple other people we're looking to add. Right. The production, thumbnails, descriptions, shorts, all those things that we're looking to produce here on FYF Sports. So make sure you support the channel, man. And I'm dropping the link right now. Let's get that link up. Oh, and also, if you do want to send a super chat and you want that super chat to appear on the screen, then what you can do is you can hit this link right here. It's going to take you to our other channel that we're live on as well, FYF Sports Clips. Make sure you guys subscribe to FYF Sports Clips. We're monetized on that channel where we've turned on the monetization. So if you do want to send a super chat and you want that super chat message on the screen, just click that link, go over to FYF Sports Clips, subscribe, and then you can send your super chat and whatever message or comment you want to go with it. And again, we'll make sure those, and sometimes we miss the Cash Apps, and sometimes we do miss the PayPals until after the show. But if you super chat, we can get to those immediately because it will literally pop up on the screen for everybody to see. Link is in the chat. And we got a couple more clips that we're going to get through. Link is in the chat. And just to kind of to expose some of the foolery. And, you know, the last clip I wanted to show y'all was this right here. And this is just proof that a lot of this stuff is just lies. And we got Erky, man, in the backstage. I'm going to let some of y'all get in this backstage. I'm going to let you up here in 1 second. I want y'all to check this out. Because what they do is they try to pretend as if the older players, like, remember what Stephen A. Smith said? Stephen A. Smith said that the older players are talking about the advancements. I think what Draymond Green is talking about is how these older players, unprovoked, just come out and start taking shots at this era. And then they pretend as if it's not taking shots. They pretend as if these players are just supposed to take it and not say anything in return.
The physicality that was a part of the league.
But if you know who you are, you should look at it as information.
You can't hand check. You can't contest shots.
Really heavily weighted right now with a three-point shot.
You get close to the basket, a lot more of your shots will go in.
So not too long ago, Anthony Edwards was interviewed and basically said that older generations didn't have any skills, and Michael Jordan was the only one in his era who had skills. This comment aggravated many NBA players who played in that era, that once Magic Johnson heard about it, he was quick to clap back by saying, "I never respond to a guy who never won a championship." And he has every right to say that because Magic Johnson is one of the most accomplished players in NBA history, with 5 championships and 3 MVPs, just to keep it short. So for Anthony Edwards to say that wild comment and disrespect every single NBA legend in that era is unbelievable. These NBA legends transformed how basketball was played, combining finesse with toughness and skill with high basketball IQ. Edwards is one of the most promising players in the league today, and he hasn't yet achieved what those legends accomplished. I never thought he would make a statement like that because today's NBA wouldn't exist without the groundwork those legends put in. So Edwards' comments about past generations got me thinking about some of the concerns NBA legends have with today's game and how their views highlight the changes and challenges in modern.
I'm saying to you, you couldn't get to a triple step back. And then if you shot that shit, it had to go in. You know why? Because we had efficiency back in the day, my dude, and it was so fucking hard. It was too physical. And guess what? The league had to come off of it for the flow of movement to be able to have scoring go up, which is why we like to sit here and watch kind of the rat race of the high-paced game, right? But, bro, let's not talk about the gamemanship, and let's not talk about the physicality of the game back then. The only thing these kids in the league could have been on the NBA team 20 years ago.
Straight up.
The locker room was too grown. And you had to have that work, and you had to really work on your shit. And it wasn't no, you was out 2-3 games, man. Your teammates, hey, bro, what you doing tonight? You going? Nah, I can't go, man. My toenail off, man. I can't. Nah, bro, you can't even come in here and lead no niggas like that. You hear me? Real shit. You had, man, it was men leading men.
Nobody in this era has a mid-range.
You couldn't get, nobody.
Nobody in this era has a post game.
And the ones that do look amazing. Look at Shea. Shea got a mid-range.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's only like a few of them got.
That's what I'm saying, bro. 2 dribbles.
Yeah, they don't
try to do it. Okay, young fella, if you hear me, and then y'all exhaust the ball. Y'all are dribbling the air out of the ball.
Right.
Y'all dribble the ball 100 times more than another nigga.
I actually said this a couple of days ago on my Instagram feed, is that the mid-range game is being lost. Nowadays, you're seeing guys pump fake and step sideways, on the 3-point line, and you're making it a tougher shot than necessarily getting into the paint and getting something mid-range. So I believe it's bad for our young kids that watch, because what I tell my boys, and I'm coaching the AAU team currently, and I tell them, I want you guys to pay attention to what goes on in college. Play hard, learn from the NBA, the do's and the don'ts, but don't settle for threes. Like, I hated shooting threes to start a game because you want to kind of build your rhythm into it, get to the free throw line, make some easy layups. And then the best time to shoot a 3-pointer is off of offensive rebound. And right now, it's like the first thing that players do, and we have some quality, skilled shooters.
We got somebody in the chat said his point about Shea is correct. See, this is what confuses me about the people that are critics. They say there ain't no mid-range shooters in the game, but then proceed to tell us who the mid-range shooters in the game are. Makes no sense. If there ain't no mid-range shooters in the game, which I can name a ton, like the KDs, like the Shea Gilgeous-Alexanders. If there ain't no mid-range shooters in the game, then why can I name a shit ton of mid-range shooters like the DeMar DeRozans and whatnot?
And Devin Booker.
And then to me,
And they're successful.
This is what I mean by if there ain't none in the game, then why can we name them off so easily? Because it sounds dumb when you say that. And so to me, it just sounds like y'all saying it. Like, is everybody that plays supposed to have a mid-range? Did everybody in the 90s and 2000s and the 80s have mid-ranges? The last time I checked, no.
Most of them.
No, there's no most of them. Okay, because I can literally go to any random roster in the 80s, and probably only 3 to 4 players on that team were elite mid-range shooters, if even elite.
How about
Maybe
this, Lamar?
that.
Can you name a guy that averaged over 20?
No, King Roll. What I'm saying is skill sets vary in the league. The league is not made for everybody to have the same exact skill set and be great at it. Dennis Rodman couldn't shoot a lick, but what he did on the defensive end is what made him great, right? Guys in the 90s like the Craig Hodges, excellent three-point shooters, struggled in other areas, but the three-point shot is what made him great. There were certain guys at the post, great back to the basket. We didn't expect them to go out there and be great mid-range shooters or three-point shooters. They were just great at what they did. But the fact that what they do is they pick one element of the game that's changed, because Jeff Teague literally told everybody one of the reasons is to hold on 1 second, King Row. Jeff Teague literally told everybody why the mid-range shot is becoming irrelevant. Jeff Teague went into a game. He talked about how he went into a game, hit somebody with a bop, step in, mid-range pull up money. The coaching staff and the coaches said, nah, that's a bad shot. You can't do it. He said, going into the locker room, they was all in his ear. Teague, that's a bad shot, man. You can't be shooting that shot. These are coaches. So his coaches are telling him, we can't have you shooting that shot. So when the coaches are strategically telling players, this is what we want you to do as a part of the game plan, what are they supposed to do? Because when Jeff Teague said, I kept shooting the mid-range shots, you know what happened to his ass? His ass got put on the bench because he kept shooting them mid-range shots. So what the hell are players supposed to do when they pit it with coaching staff? And these coaching staffs are not made up of 19 and 20-year-olds from today's game. These coaching staffs are made up of 45, 50, 55, and 60-year-old guys from the old era. So what are they supposed to do when they got these old era, old-time coaches from years past literally telling them, this is what we want you to do on the court? And then we get mad and judge these players because coaches from y'all era, coaches who played when y'all played, are telling them to do these things. Y'all act like players just go on the court and do things at random on their own without any instruction from anybody, and they just doing it willy-nilly, and it's just random. That's not how basketball works. And y'all don't listen to what the players say. Y'all have all these gripes and the complaints. Y'all pretend as if these guys can't do all of this stuff. They can make mid-range shots. Y'all don't take into consideration that maybe they're not taking the mid-range shots because they actually do play defense. Maybe they do clog up the lanes with zone reads. Maybe they do make it harder. But you don't never take that into consideration. You act like these guys are driving in, just passing up wide open layups and mid-range shots just to kick it to a contested three. These are lies that y'all push. Y'all got to stop it, man. Y'all got to stop it. But you go ahead, King Ro.
Oh no, I was just saying. Well, if you were a great scorer in that era, you had a mid range. Like any guy that had 20 points a game, 20. Like even Ray Allen, one of the GOAT shooters, is telling you, I shot mid range, right? So you wouldn't find many shooters or many scorers who took more threes than they take twos. Now you have one of the elite teams in the league who takes more threes for the season than they've taken two. So the game has changed itself, right? You're right.
Okay,
The coaches tell you not to shoot the mid range, right? Like they told Teague not to shoot the mid range. That's because they follow the analytics.
Let me ask you a
Go
question.
ahead.
Because
Sure.
so I'm going to run down the list of the top scorers in the NBA. And I want you to tell me if these guys are not good mid-range shooters, okay? We're going to go through the list. Can Shai Gilgeous-Alexander shoot the mid-range?
Yes, he can.
Can Nikola Jokic shoot the mid-range?
I believe he can, yes.
Can Anthony Edwards shoot the mid-range?
He's taking a lot of threes. I wouldn't
Can
know.
Anthony Edwards shoot the mid-range?
Can he? What is his percentage? Again, I don't. He takes a lot of threes. He's a poor example when he takes a lot of threes.
He
takes mid-ranges too.
Mid-range. Right now, he has an effective. Anthony Edwards has an effective field goal percentage of 60%. Would be safe from the room. But you know what? That's why I said effective field goal percentage. I mean, if I go to his field goal percentage and it's really high, which Anthony Edwards' field goal percentage right now is 47%, you're going to say it's because of dunks and layups. So at the end of the day, let's move it on. Can Kevin Durant shoot the mid-range?
Sure can. He's one of the best.
Can Jalen Brunson shoot the mid-range?
Of course.
Can Kate Cunningham shoot the mid-range?
I believe so. I've seen him shoot the
Can
mid-range.
Devin Booker shoot the mid-range?
Another one. You're at 10 now, right?
Can Damian Lillard shoot the mid-range?
Not that good. No.
Bro, oh my God, bro. See, these old niggas be lying and capping.
I know these old niggas. I got you. I got you.
We're going to keep going. We're going to keep going.
Because I looked up. Hold on. I looked up.
No. Let Lamar keep going.
Let me keep going. Let me keep going. Let me keep going. Hold on.
Because you old niggas is weird.
Can LeBron shoot the mid-range?
Okay.
You gonna lie? Are you going to lie?
He can't. LeBron for his career is about 37% of mid-range.
Hold on. Right. I'm talking about right now because y'all talk about guys getting better and developing their games.
Here's my
hold on. King Rose.
For his career, he's 37%.
You don't have to
bro,
go
y'all
down
gonna keep over talking him?
Hold on. Y'all don't have to go down these long diatribes of what LeBron was. Because y'all talk about these guys, y'all pretend as if they don't work on their games. The one thing you got to give LeBron credit for is that he has developed that mid-range jump shot. He has developed his three-point shot, which now he's no longer a liability there, which he used to be. So if we're not going to lie, yes, LeBron has the ability to make those mid-range shots because we now see him shooting that turnaround fadeaway, which has kind of become lethal for him to a certain degree. So we're not even going to let you lie on LeBron. Let's go to the next high score. Steph Curry. Can Steph Curry shoot the mid-range?
Steph Curry can definitely shoot the mid-range.
Can Karl Anthony Towns shoot the mid-range?
I'm a Knicks fan. I'm a Knicks fan. He's not a great mid-range shooter. He gets to the basket.
Hey, Lamar.
I watch this guy
you know why
every
these
night.
niggas pausing? You know why they pausing?
Okay.
They don't watch basketball. They don't watch basketball for real. They just watch their team.
Okay, hold on.
By the way,
hold on.
Go ahead.
Let's keep going.
By the way, Dame shoots 48% from mid-range.
We know.
And how many makes a game? Because you got to actually take
King Rowe. No, King Rowe. No. You said all the top scorers can shoot mid-range. I'm just going through all the top scorers. Let's go to the next one, King Rowe. Come here. You don't have to try to. We watch the game. This is why we know. Let's go to the next one. Trae Young. Can Trae Young shoot the mid-range?
He can shoot it, but that's not his game. We all know he takes a lot of threes.
Can Donovan Mitchell shoot the mid-range?
Spider. Yeah, he can.
Can Tyler Hero shoot the mid-range?
Not as well as a three, but yeah.
Oh my God, bro! Can they shoot it?
Can
no. The question is, do they shoot it? Now that's the real question.
LaVine, hold on, they do shoot it. That's why they have percentages on their shooting.
The real question is why Lamont misquoted Ray Allen in the first place, because that's not.
I didn't misquote no Ray Allen. I'm talking to King Rowe right now. Hold on, Mr.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because y'all love framing arguments over here.
Oh, because you
hold on 1 second, y'all. I'm not framing any argument. King Rowe, you said.
You are.
You said, hold on 1 second, y'all.
I know what I said.
King Rowe,
I said successful players do shoot.
Okay, hold on, King Rowe. Hold on. Come on, King Rowe. You told me. You said this. You said all of the top scorers in the past were great mid-range shooters. I'm just simplifying it. We're going to go through all the top scorers in the NBA. And I want to know which one of these guys can't shoot the mid range, because I don't know how you're a top scorer and you struggling this much degree. So now we're on the 20th shooter. We're on the 20th
leading scorer.
Hold on. So we're now on the 20th leading scorer in the NBA. Can James Harden shoot the mid range?
Yes, he can.
Okay. Can Norman Powell shoot the mid range?
Yes, he can.
Can DeMar DeRozan shoot the mid range? We're now in 24.
He's the lead at the mid range, of course. We know that.
Can Jamal Murray shoot the mid range?
See,
man, that's what Jamal Murray do. See, that's why I say, Lamar, they don't watch basketball for real, bro.
No. They
don't watch basketball for real.
Yes, I do watch basketball for real.
Because if you say Jamal Murray can't shoot the mid range, you
shouldn't
don't know
pause on Jamal
basketball.
Murray. You shouldn't pause on Jamal Murray, bro.
No, first of all, y'all not gonna rope me into an argument. I said the successful scorers shoot the mid range. So right off, you've kind of proven my point and Ray Allen's point.
Bro, he just named 20. He just named he on 25.
Of course, the best scorers shoot mid range. But actually, here's the deal. They also, most of the guys you name take a higher percentage of three and don't take a lot of mid range. So that's what
all Ray Allen was saying.
Hold on.
That's exactly.
Hold on, y'all. So King Rowe. So that means, since these are the top 25 scores, since it's your proclamation that they're getting all these points from the 3-point line, well, let's look at how many point threes they make per game to see if they're scoring all these points.
It ain't close.
Let's start at the number one score.
Is of course Shai.
Hold on. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is averaging 32.8 points per game.
Mm-hmm.
How many threes per game do you think he makes out of that 32 points?
It might be between 2 and 3. He gets a lot of his points at the basket. I mean, at the free foul line.
You don't have to. We know how he scores because we watch. But if you want to pretend that these guys are shooting, because remember, y'all the ones that make the proclamation.
No, I didn't make a proclamation. I agree with Ray Allen.
You make the
proclamation. You just don't keep over talking him.
You make the proclamation that these guys are shooting all threes. Remember, they're chucking up too many threes. This air is too soft. Don't tell me about them driving to the basket, because, again, if they're driving to the basket, that's contradictory to what y'all say that they do. So Shai Gilgeous-Alexander only makes 2 threes per game. Giannis Antetokounmpo, who's the number 2 scorer in the league, okay, a guy that we can easily say is not a great mid-range shooter, and he's not a great three-point shooter, right? But Giannis only makes 0.9 threes per he actually only makes 0.2 threes per game, and he takes 0.9 per game. So Giannis is the second leading scorer in the NBA because he knows he's not a great shooter. He doesn't even take threes at all. He shoots less than 1 a game, so he doesn't even take them. He's getting all his buckets. He's averaging 11 2-point field goal. He's averaging 11.7 2-point field goal makes per game. And on extremely high efficiency, he takes about 18 2-point shots per game. So in the mid-range and to the rim in the post area, Giannis is extremely dominant, shooting 62%. This is a guy who we can all agree is not a great mid-range shooter, not a great three-point shooter, but oddly enough, he doesn't play like how you guys claim players today play. He doesn't chuck up threes. He actually gets to the mid-range and plays within his game and only takes those shots. And he averages 30.4 points per game. Let's go to the next leading scorer of the game. We got Nikola Jokic. How many threes per game would you say? Nikola Jokic is averaging 29.7 points per game. How many threes per game would you say he's making?
I'm going to say he's making between 3 and 4.
He's only making 2 threes per game, and he only shoots 4 per game. So he's shooting 50% from the 3. He only shoots 4 per game. The majority of his shots are at the 2-point range. He takes on average 9.3 2-point field goals per game, and he takes on average 14.9 2-point field goals per game. And so the majority of his shots are also 2-point field goals. Let's go to Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards, who's averaging 27 points per game. How many threes per game does he make out of that 27 points?
I'm guessing he makes at least 3 to 4. Between 3 and 4.
So he's averaging 4 threes per game. But conversely, on the flip side, he is still averaging more 2-point field goal attempts per game than he is threes. He's taken 5 2-point field. He makes on average 5 2-point field goal per attempts per game, and he's taken at least 10. He's taken on every night basis. He's taken at least 10 2-point field goal shots per game.
Let me ask you something.
Hold on. Let me keep going.
Let him get through it.
Let's just keep going. We're gonna go to Jason Tatum.
Oh God, that's crazy.
On the Boston Celtic team that shoots the most threes, how many threes of his 27 points that he averages are 3-point field goal makes? He only averages 3-point field goal makes per game. He shoots more 2-point shots than he does threes. We can go to Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, who we know is a sniper from the 3-point line, of the 26.6 points per game, how many of those points are threes? On average, Kevin Durant makes 2.6 threes per game. On average, Kevin Durant is taking 7 2-point field goal attempts per game. He's making 7 2-point field goal attempts per game, and he's taking 12. Kevin Durant, a guy who's an elite sniper from the 3-point line, is taking far more 2-point field goal shots than threes. And this is a guy who we know is going to pull up and take a multitude of mid-range jumpers. So we know he's an elite mid-range sniper. Let's go to Jalen. Let's go to Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson. Hold on, King Rowe. Because if you're going to make this allegation that all these top scorers are chucking up threes, why are all of the top scorers shooting more twos than threes? And the majority of their points are mostly from 2-point makes. That means they're getting to the rim or taking mid-range jumpers. So let's go to Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson, out of the 26 points per game that he averages, he only averages 2 3-point makes per game. On average, Jalen Brunson is taking 7 he's making 7 2-point field goals per game, and he takes 12. The majority of his shots are 2-point field goal attempts. The majority of his points come from 2-point field goal attempts. That means getting to the mid-range and getting to the rim as a small guard. So even a small guard is dominating in the mid-range and to the rim. So let's go to the next guy, Cade Cunningham. Cade Cunningham is also averaging 2 threes per game, 2 made threes per game. The majority of his shots, he's averaging 7.4 2-point field goal makes per game. He takes 14 2-point field goals per game on average. So the majority of his shots stem from getting to the rim, getting to the mid-range, scoring inside the 3-point line. That's the number 8 score. We can go to Devin Booker. Devin Booker, an elite mid-range master. He's only averaging 2 3-point field goal makes per game. The majority of his points come from the 2-point field goal range. He takes far more. He takes on average 6. He makes 6 2-point field goals per game. He shoots 11. That's just from the 2-point range. Again, his points are coming from the mid-range and to the rim. The number 10 scorer in the league, which is Damian Lillard, he is averaging 3 threes per game that are made. He's still taking, even a guy named, we know Dame for making a lot of deep threes. We even call him Logo Lillard, but he is still even averaging more 2-point field goal shots than he is threes. He's taken more 2-point field goal shots to get his points than threes. That's the top 10 scores. So where is this narrative coming from that all the best scorers in the league are just chucking up threes? Where does that stem from? Because it's going to be a common trend even if I do the whole top 25, King Rowe, we're not going to find a whole bunch of guys that's getting their points chucking up threes. These are mostly high efficient scorers who are scoring, who can make the three, but the majority of their points seem to be coming from the mid-range and in the paint getting to the rim. Yet we call this era 3-point chuckers. Yet they're just chucking up all these threes. Where does this stem from? Where do y'all get this narrative from? Do y'all actually watch, or do y'all run with these Stephen A. Smith ESPN narratives?
Yep, and they can't hoop. They can't hoop, Lamont. So they bring up. Okay, you just gonna keep over talking people. Go ahead.
No, let King Rowe respond. King Rowe can respond. Go ahead.
Okay, number one, I agree with Ray Allen, who said go to the mid range. This is one of the GOAT 3-point shooters. This is the guy who, if you want to study shooting, right, and you would agree, Lamar, right? You go to Ray Allen. Okay, he said take the mid range, and what I said is the most successful scorers are 3-point or mid range scorers. The most, and everything you ran down proved the point. Now, some like a Giannis, you know that a lot of his points are at the basket. So his
25% of his shots is from mid range.
Hold on.
25.
Are the three best scorers in the game this year?
Without a doubt,
all dominate it. Hold on. The three best scorers in the game this year all dominate in the mid range. Is that facts?
Of course. They also get a lot of foul marks.
The majority of the top 25 scorers in the NBA right now are getting most of their points in the mid range and at the rim. Isn't that facts?
Absolutely. Yeah, that and foul line.
Okay, so hold on. Listen to what I'm saying, because we can even count free throws. Listen to what I said. I said the majority of their points. If you look at the top 25 scorers in the NBA, the majority of their points are coming from 2-point field goal makes that consist of mid-range jumpers and guys getting to the rim. Isn't that a fact?
It's a fact. It's a fact.
So if the majority of the top 25 scorers' points are coming from mid-range and getting to the rim, where and why are people propagating this narrative that everybody in the league's chucking up threes and that's the only thing that's happening and guys are not taking mid-range jumpers? Because when I look through the top 25, all I see is a ton of guys that pull up and take those mid-range pull-up jumpers, daggers at that.
Well, you're going to look at if you look at the rest of the league, you're going to have some guys that shooting under 40%.
Still going to be people. Role players shoot threes, wide open threes.
See, when I consider you a mid-range scorer, you got to make like 4 or 5 a game.
I'm going to go down. I'm going to start from the bottom and go up. We can start with the 238th ranked scorer in the league. Where do y'all think he averages 3.3 points per game? Where would y'all assume those 3 points come from? A 3, or is he on average making 2-point shots and free throws? Zeke Naji.
Who?
Zeke Naji.
What does he play for? Toronto?
See, he don't watch basketball.
I mean, you just named a random name. Hold on. You named a random name, and I'm supposed to know that. I know there's a Naji in Toronto or something. A random name, and I'm supposed to know where he plays. I mean, geez,
Naji is not random. We've watched him crack the Lakers multiple times.
LeBron shouted out Jerome Lane back in the day, right? The first player from Akron. Did anybody know who he played for?
Oh my God! What do that got to do with he just asked?
Wait a minute, y'all clowning me for not knowing who Zeke Naji is.
Okay, let me go to a more familiar name then. I'm just gonna go to a random name. Let's go to you're gonna say I'm handpicking it. I'm just gonna go to the next guy up. Chris Murray. You know Chris Murray, right?
Chris Murray, that's brother of what's the name? Yeah, his brother plays. All right.
Okay. He averages 3.8 points per game. Is he chucking up threes to get them 3 points?
No, he's a mid-range small forward. Yeah, he's a small forward.
What about Steven Adams?
Steven Adams is Mr. Putback, Mr. Offensive Rebound.
Okay, so 2-point field goals, right?
Yeah, but you're going to call him a mid-range scorer?
Let's go to the next one. Dalen Terry for the Chicago Bulls.
Dalen Terry. Again, I know who Dalen Terry is, and I know he's about 6'7" small forward, one of the Bulls forwards. They take a lot. They do a lot of 3-and-D. Let me ask you something. What is Kobe White? Kobe White is one of those guys because he even got.
Hold on.
He just changed the player.
I'm only doing this, and I'm glad we got Go James Keenum up here. I'm only doing this to show you that when we start to look like, I don't know what y'all eyes are seeing. But when we look at the numbers, there isn't this plethora of guys, because really, there's really only one team in the league right now that's just going willy-nilly from the 3-point line. That's the Boston Celtics.
That's the Boston Celtics. All right.
Hold on. They stand, and you know what? They can get away with it to a certain degree. When you're one of the best defensive teams in the league and you're the defending champs, okay, we'll kind of give you a pass to a certain degree. You're the defending champs. Whatever you're doing, that's just working. You're the defending champs, and you're still looking like the best team in the league right now. You get a goddamn pass. But outside of the Boston Celtics, what teams out there are just chucking up threes at some reckless pace outside of what was norm?
Well, every team shoots 30. Every team, I believe, shoots 30 at least, right? I know my Knicks shoot a little bit. The Knicks have been shaking less.
I said outside of the norm.
Well, that's the thing. That's the norm now. As you know, Ray Allen, when he came into the league, team shot 15 at the most? Obviously, the game has changed, right?
Yeah, because they couldn't shoot.
No, okay, so you're telling me Ray Allen couldn't shoot. Ray Allen could shoot.
No.
Ray
He's
Allen
talking
shot
about the
it.
league. He's talking about the
The
league.
league.
Okay, no. It's not that the league couldn't shoot. It's that they played again. That game was more meant towards the mid range. That game was more catered toward the mid range. Now it's catered to more three
No, they
and get to
couldn't
the
shoot.
basket. The mid range is the least taken shot in the league right now. Now you name the most successful players who score the most points, and of course, as I said, the most successful scorers can score on 3 levels. That's
No, that's
natural.
not what you said though. You said that they take a
actually
lot
is
of
what I
threes.
said. No.
You said
he
they take a
started
lot of
out-
threes.
Hold on,
Okay,
y'all.
number one, they do take a lot of
King Rowe.
threes.
King Rowe,
Go
let
ahead.
me just do this because you're just yelling out nonsense. So we're gonna go to Prime Ray Allen. We're gonna go to one of his rosters because I feel like Prime Ray Allen was Ray Allen with the Supersonics and Ray Allen with the Bucks. So we're gonna go to one of his. We're gonna go to one of his.
When he
Bucks
played with Big
rosters.
Dog.
So
Yeah.
listen to what I'm saying. Hold on. We're gonna go to one of his, not one of his Bucks. We're gonna go to one of his Seattle Supersonic rosters. We know Ray Allen was elite, but when we say that these teams weren't able to shoot a lot of threes because they didn't have a lot of three-point shooters, well, let's just look at the roster. Let's see if they had a roster full of guys that could shoot threes where they could get up 30 threes a game. So we know Ray Allen on the roster. We know he could shoot threes. Mateen Cleaves, not a three-point shooter.
What year is this, Lamont?
Nick Collison, not a three-point shooter.
He was a mid-range power forward.
Hold on. Nick Collison was not a three-point shooter.
What year?
Antonio Daniels was not a three-point shooter.
He
Reggie
could
Evans.
shoot 3. He could shoot 3. That's
Hold on,
not.
hold on.
Reggie Evans was the lunch pail guy.
Hold on, bro.
What? Go ahead.
Antonio Daniels was not a three-point shooter. Like, why do we got to make stuff up?
And that's the problem, Lamont. They make stuff up.
Now we making stuff up. Okay.
Yeah,
Was
y'all
Rashad
be
Lewis on
lying.
the team?
Hold on. For his
Was Rashad Lewis
career,
on that team?
for his career, Antonio Daniels shot 30% from the three-point line. Yeah, you're telling me he was a three-point shooter.
What about Rashad Lewis?
Hold on. Let's just go down the rest of the team, right? And because remember what we have today is you have 8-9 guys that can make threes at 38 to 40%.
Right.
Hold on, let's keep going. So we got Mateen Cleaves not a three-point shooter, Nick Collison not a three-point shooter, Antonio Daniels not a three-point shooter, Reggie Evans not a three-point shooter, Danny Fortson not a three-point shooter, Jerome James not a three-point shooter, Rashad Lewis was a three-point shooter. So that really only gives us 2 38 to 40% three-point shooters on this team.
And you only got 2 more after that.
Hold on, let's keep going. We got Vitaly Potapenko, not a three-point shooter. Vladimir Radmanovic,
Shooter.
Now he can shoot.
Turned
He
into
can
a
shoot.
three-point shooter late in his career. Luke Rittenauer, not a
Shooter.
three-point shooter.
Well,
he's not a
Rittenauer was a
three-point
shooter. Come
Hold on,
on,
listen
now.
to what I'm saying, King Rowe. Luke Rittenhour was a great mid-range shooter. He was not a three-point shooter. I knew him I saw him play at Oregon. I know his game.
Okay.
The white dude with the curly hair was a mid-range shooter and a facilitator. Let's not lie and act like
He
we
was,
don't know
he
who
was a
these
real
guys
point
are.
guard. Okay, got you.
No. Robert Swift, definitely not a three-point
Not a 3-point shooter.
And Damian
High
Wilkins.
schooler with no skills.
Damian Wilkins, not a three-point shooter. So when you talk about a team that has the ability to get up to be at least average 33s per game, this was not a team as a coach that you will go out there and say, let's average 33s a game, because you only got 2 guys on this roster that would be considered good three-point shooters. Everybody else was below average to bad three-point shooters.
You're right about that, Lamar. Here's the thing, right?
Because your third best shooter on this team would arguably be Vladimir Radmanovic, and he was at the power forward spot. That's arguably on this team. As you look at the names, and we can do this through a plethora of teams. The problem with the early 2000s was that they brought the zone in, and the NBA had not adopted enough shooting to catch up. That's why the defenses with the zone look so elite, because only one team knew the zone was coming back. That was the Phoenix Suns. And that's why the Phoenix Suns had all the goddamn three-point shooting, well ahead of everybody else. And that's why the offense looks so elite. So at the end of the day, once the league caught up, because the only way you can really beat a zone is by spacing the zone out with shooting. Now, once teams caught up with the zone by adding more shooting, then it starts to level out the playing field a little bit.
And Lamont, for the teams now. If you can't shoot threes now, it'd be so hard for you to even play players. Like they play players off the court that can't shoot no more. Like, bro, it's bad out there. Like Houston is good because they play defense, but they miss a lot of shots. And they can shoot better than them teams back in the day, bro. Y'all be capping. Like old dude's been capping for a long time, Lamont.
Yeah, but
Okay, old dude be capping.
and hey, Johnny can be a testament to this. Because y'all pick and choose when to cry about shooting. Because I've heard old heads, and we've all heard it from the ticket TVs and a lot of the old heads he has over there. What do they do to guys like Pat Beverly and Draymond Green? They call them trash because they can't shoot.
Yeah,
when guys do
And
actually
then those
start
guys
shooting,
got in the gym and learned how to shoot. A lot of them improved on their
Draymond
shooting,
Green
though, right?
still can't shoot.
I mean, he makes himself where you can't leave him that open. But no,
They
there was a point where
leave
Draymond was
Draymond
making
Green.
35.
They leave Draymond. They play
They leave
Draymond.
Draymond open to this. They just did it the other day with the versus the Raptors. We literally just did it to Draymond.
Draymond shot in the high 30s at one point, right?
Hey, Lamont, look how they play Russell Westbrook. They be playing him all the way below the free throw line.
And what do they call him? Russell Westbrook.
Russell Westbrook. I got you. And again, he has to cook in the mid-range. See, look, you just went down the Sonics roster, and here's my converse point. Reggie Evans, Nick Collinsons, these guys who are elite rebounders, right? Lunch pail, getting the paint guys and
have to do
box out.
Being able to shoot up to get 33s up. You can only average 33s per game is if you have a roster with a plethora of elite shooters.
Yeah. So again, but those guys will those guys will rebound. I get what you're saying. I really do. But again, now they started. Here's what they did. They started drafting big guys and make them practice threes. Look, wait a minute. Julius Randle came in the league. Was he a 3-point shooter at all? And eventually, in the middle of his career, they said, "Well, if you want to get on the court and start, you got to shoot more threes." And what did he do? He improved his 3-point.
He still don't take most of his shots from the mid range.
They told Julius Randle, "You have to help us space the floor."
Exactly.
The only way you can space the floor is if you become a threat from the 3-point line.
Exactly.
So it was one of the reasons why Jared Allen with Brooklyn, because I talked to one of the Brooklyn Nets scouts when I was at a coaching clinic in Florida. No, I was in North Carolina for a coaching clinic. And one of the Brooklyn Nets scouts told me, he says, we're going to have to trade Jared Allen because our formula is to be able to stretch the floor. And he has just not been able to be consistent at making that three. And he just wasn't in the formula of helping him with that. And Jared Allen was going to have to find a new home with a team that was just going to be willing to allow him to be who he is and not rely on him to make threes. So now he's somewhere where they said, we're going to put enough shooting around you to where you don't have to do that. Because
you can be your rim protector.
Who on that team added to their bag and has now started making that three? Evan Mobley has been a spacer. Yeah. Garland is a spacer. Mitchell is a spacer. They even got the guy from Miami, Max Strus, is a spacer. So they brought in even Ty Jerome. Ty Jerome is a spacer. So what they've done is they've filled that team up with guys that can make up for what Jared Allen lacks in space the game. So no. What you're doing is you're trying to add these elements. That's the thing. You keep trying to add on top of what you said. You're just wrong. They're shooting more threes today because they have better shooters. No, what we're saying with Ray Allen is you cannot tell guys to shoot more mid-range shots when defenses are taking the mid-range shot away from you. See, y'all act like the shot is available. The mid-range shot, if you are being honest, mid-range shots are only afforded to the stars on the team, right? Because if you're not a star on the team and the majority of these shots are going to these other guys, the only way you can get a mid-range shot is you're putting the ball on the ground, drive, pull up, and you're really trying to go ISO. That's only afforded to the top 3 scorers on the team. If you're not one of those guys, you better be standing somewhere, spacing the floor out, ready to catch and shoot, because you're just going to get a shot at the end.
Like an OG Anunoby was the 4th leading scorer on my Knicks.
But y'all expect these guys all to catch the ball, dribble, mid-range pull up like Kobe, and pretend as if that's what was going on when you watch Kobe play.
I mean, if you were taking these mid-range shots,
even in the 90s, they weren't even taking mid-ranges to this degree. It was the stars taking mid range.
Yep.
The great scores. Like I
Bro,
said in
think
the
about it,
beginning.
Lamont. Even the three.
And just when I ran down the top 25 scores of the day's game, outside of one player, which was Giannis Antetokounmpo, they all are elite mid-range shores.
Elite, I'm not going to say elite
Yeah,
because again,
even
you
look at
got
the
to make
Spurs,
4 or
Lamont.
5 a game.
Hold up.
Even look at the old
50%.
Spurs. Bruce Bowen was at the 3-point line, corner 3. Like, bro, Boris Diaw. Like, bro, you got to be able to space the floor out when you can play zone.
Bro, are you telling me just because KD only takes 4 threes a game, he's not an elite 3-point shooter?
No, I didn't say that.
Okay,
you
so,
can't put
but no,
words in
what you said was you keep saying because they don't take a huge volume of mid-range shots that they're not mid-range shooters. But there's a lot of guys in the top 25 scoring that don't take a high volume of threes, but we still consider them elite 3-point shooters. It's not the volume that makes you elite. It's how efficient you are at even making the shot when you get the opportunity to shoot it. When the defense gives you an opportunity to shoot it. Because y'all act like these shots are just wide open. They got to take what the defense gives them.
Yeah, take what it gives you.
Yeah, and Lamont, they act like role players just do hezzy pull-ups at the mid-range. No, that's never been true.
May I ask something here, Lamont? Because I've been listening. Peace and blessings, y'all. What's good?
You been listening 5 seconds to talk and not finish my thought.
Hold on. My bad, Jay.
What's up, Go James?
Finish. My bad, John. Let me let you
Okay, my bad. Go ahead.
No. I mean, again, here's one point. Anthony Edwards takes more threes, and without looking at the numbers, he takes more threes than Reggie Miller.
This year. This year.
Probably.
How many did he take last year?
Okay, I guarantee you. Last year. Let's go last year. Anthony Edwards took more than Reggie because the game has changed.
No, hold on. We only takes more threes than Reggie Miller because coaches and the playing style of the 90s, they were so hyper invested in slowing the game down.
Okay.
And trying to and trying to abuse the illegal defense, because there's a myth that the 90s was low scoring because of defense. The 90s was not low scoring because of defense. The 90s was low scoring because coaches slowed the game down to a bore just to try to manipulate and abuse the illegal defense rules. And so really, the only people we even remember as elite scorers from the 90s are the top 1 and 2 options. Outside of the top 1 and 2 options, you really don't know who the best scorers were. And so this is why the top scorers of the 90s, they seem like super really good scorers because the number 1 and 2 options just got all the shots and got all the high quality shots. So you go to every team, Stockton, Malone, you go to any team, look at the 2 top guys, Barkley, KJ, you go to any of the top teams, Terry Porter, Clyde Drexler, they had 2 guys that stood out like no other. And that's if you were lucky. Most teams only had 1 guy. So when we looked at the Sacramento Kings, Mitch Richmond. When you looked at the Clippers, Pooh Richardson. So when you look to some of these teams who only had 1 guy, that 1 guy stood out. But at the end of the day, because they slowed the game down to a bore and they made it low scoring with pace, they did not make it low scoring with great defense. The only era that was forced into low scoring because of great defense was the 2000s.
2000s, yep.
Okay. So, I mean, you just made a point that the game changed. You just made the point that the game has changed, right? Okay, we agreed. We can all see that the pace is higher.
The skill made it change. The skill made it change.
Oh, because nobody had skill. I got it. Sam Cassell couldn't get a shot off the bounce.
Bunnies. They used to miss bunnies in the 90s.
No,
they missed so many layups in the 90s.
We're not saying nobody can shoot threes in the 90s. What we're telling you is there's just more players today who can shoot it. The real problem is, Lamont, problem is that you got guys like this who says this. Let me show it to you right here, Lamont. Let me put it right quick, Lamont. Look at this.
Go ahead.
Y'all think because a person can shoot threes, they skilled. Anybody can throw up a shot. Are we really discussing whether or not shooting 3-pointers in an efficient rate is a skill or not?
Don't entertain that dumbass shit.
Or good in basketball? Because that's the conversation that Rose's trying to state, that taking a bunch of threes is bad basketball. Are we still on this idea that Anthony Edwards, who makes 39% of his pull-up 3-pointers, this is pull-up 3-pointers, ladies and gentlemen, he makes them at 39%.
39%. Reggie Miller cannot shoot that good.
Nope.
Okay.
That's just facts. That's just facts, sir. Reggie Miller shoots 39.5% from 3-point on just getting open 3-pointers and
It's about to be a turn. What do you got? Drawing up plays off of screens. Yeah.
And
Yeah, we know he couldn't dribble.
Oh, wait. And King Rose speech, getting Anthony Edwards to the spot where he can pull up for a 3-pointer is also a play that is drawn. Because he can do it. Because at 39%, to be that efficient at making mid-range jump shots, you would have to shoot 60% from mid-range to match his pull-up 3-pointers at 39%.
Roundabout. We understand that. As
Do you
I
know
said,
how many players do you think in today's NBA can shoot 60% from mid-range? Michael couldn't do it. Kobe couldn't do it.
Very few. But as I said, true skill is being able to score at 3 levels. Because again, there will be a time when the defense will key on you on that pull-up. And if you're not making it, look, you got to be able to go to something else.
So are you telling me? So, King Roy, are you telling me if I pull up, if I go to any year in the 90s, so for example, if I go to 1993, that the top 25 scores are all 3-level scores?
Okay, so but I'm a big man who played with the back to the basket. I mean,
Jordan is not a 3-level scorer.
We know that.
All right, we're crazy. We're acting crazy now. We're acting crazy. I know. His 3-point percentage was lower than so and so. Therefore, and they had, and again they had
No, he couldn't shoot threes.
Even though they did it when he was playing baseball, he couldn't shoot threes. He shot 50% in the season, right? Yeah.
I thought you said it got something to do with volume. I thought you said it got something to do with volume.
Wait. King Rose speech. Yes, he shot. King Rose speech. He shot 50% from the 3-point land, but he shot below average at the rim, which makes him not good at the rim, which means that level is taken away. So he doesn't have 3 levels.
That was actually big men at the rim. That's why.
It doesn't matter who was at the rim. Jordan was inefficient. He was inefficient at it. He was inefficient at it. That means that level is.
Hold on, y'all.
He was below average. He was below average.
Hold on 1 second.
Oh my God.
King Rowe,
Go ahead, bro.
What year did Jordan shoot 50% from the 3-point line?
He shot it in 1995.
No, he shot it in 1994-95. How many games did he play that year?
17.
He played 16, but y'all wanted to count. Y'all guys wanted to count. But he made 16 out of 32, right?
King
No,
Rowe.
Lamont, he doesn't want to address. That's the WNBA line on top of that. That's not
the WNBA
That's the
line.
fucking college line, nigga.
Hold on 1 second, y'all. So King Rowe, the league, because I could pull up the reports. The league wanted to increase scoring.
Of course.
And because of the lack, remember, the league said that they pushed the 3-point line in to increase scoring.
Yeah, and it didn't really work.
Hold on 1 second, King Rowe. The league said that they pushed the 3-point line in because they wanted more scoring. Why? So that tells you right there, if they have to make the 3-point shot easier, it tells you that there's a lack of skill in the league because they had to make a 3-point shot easier just to increase scoring.
I'm not hearing that. That's not true. It was one of them experiments that really didn't work.
Gilbert Arenas said it too. Gilbert Arenas said it.
So King Rowe,
Gilbert don't know that. He was 12.
Hold on 1 second, King Rowe.
What you do?
Hold on, y'all. So hold on. See, King Rowe. So if what I've said is false, then Jordan shot his first year in the league 17% from the 3. Second year in the league, 16% from the 3.
Most of those were.
Hold on 1 second, King Rowe. King Garrick, hold on. Third year in the league, 18%. Next year in the league, 13%. 6th year in the league, 27%. 1990, 37%. But then 1990-91 back down to 31%. Then 1991-92, 27%.
Uh-huh.
Hold on, 92-93, he gets to league average, 35%. David Stern.
When he was playing baseball, right? So it wasn't for Jordan.
Hold on 1 second. David Stern. Jordan retired. Motherfuckers is going away from the NBA Finals to watch the O.J. Simpson car chase. This shit is getting too boring. We need to do something. Push that motherfucking three-point line in. Jordan now 50% from the three-point line because that shit was getting way too boring. So, but hold on. Like you said, King Rowe. But like you said, Jordan had 2 years, or he actually had 3 years of the three-point line being pushed into the WNBA link. The NBA said, hell no, this shit is too fugazi. They pushed that shit back. Jordan goes from 37% to 23%.
To not taking the three anymore.
Hold on one second. Jordan goes, when they push the three-point line back, his percentage went from 37% to 23%. How do you go if he's a 3-level scorer and he's a good 3-point shooter? Then how does your percentage drop 14 percentage points in one season just because they pushed the line back to normal?
Well, it's the way you're using it. It's the way you're using it. Number one, see, when you do that first 5 years, y'all very hold on. See, y'all love to bring that up, but y'all very disingenuous when you know that Jordan might have took 43s on the year, right? Or something like that. If you look at the mix. But most of those were end of the shot clock or end of the quarter heaves, where he's probably taking it from 45 feet or 60 feet.
King Rowe.
Those count as 3-point attempts.
Let's just simplify it for you.
All right, simplify it.
Why did Jordan's 3-point percentage significantly increase the 3 years that the NBA pushed the 3-point line into?
Well, number one, he only played 1.5 of those seasons. 1.5 years Jordan played.
That's not the question.
He was okay. You said 3 years, but he only played 1.5 of those seasons, right?
And what happened?
You said the 3 years, but he only played 1.5 years.
King Rowe. Let me just say, during the time that the NBA pushed the 3-point line into WNBA range, why did Jordan's 3-point field goal percentage exponentially increase? And then as soon as they pushed it back out, why did it go all the way back down to 23%?
I'm going to tell you right now, you got to give me a legitimate chance to answer the question you just asked me. Can you do that? Number one, it was a half a year. He shot to 50%. Then he shot 35. His career high in 3-point percentage was the year was it 91 and 92? That was the 23. Okay, taking that out because I made a joke there, right? He only played 17 games. His career high in a full season was 38 with a regular 3-point line.
Hold on. But that next year, where the 3-point line was still pushed in, he shot 42%.
Was it 42? Okay, he shot 42 in 96. Have you saying?
Yes.
Okay, but he shot 39 with the regular 3-point line, right?
King Rowe, 42% is a damn good 3-point field goal percentage.
It has been a lot, and you can see that everybody in the league's 3-point percentage went higher. We know this.
King Rowe, as soon as the league pushes the line back out, how do you go from shooting 42% to 23%?
Because he stopped taking them. Now, if you're going to tell me that
why did he stop taking them?
Because you know what?
Stop taking them because it's a harder shot.
That's not. How was it my time? Okay, so are you telling me now most of the year 96 when they won 72 games? Are you telling me that most of his shots were between 22 feet where the pushed in line is and then the old outside line? You telling me he would touch between?
Bro, it don't matter if it was 22 feet. It matters that he was missing them. It matters that he was breaking them
because he stopped taking them because the triangle offense was not predicated on getting Jordan.
Oh my God.
Lamont. Hey, Lamont. Let's get outside. Let's get outside of Michael Jordan. In 1994, the last year the NBA had the original 3-point line before they shortened it. The NBA was taking, the NBA was taking less than 10 3-pointers per game. They were taking 9.9 3-pointers per game, shooting them at 33.3%. That was in 1994. Okay? That's what they were shooting at night. That's the most the NBA. That's the most 3-pointers they took in any NBA season, any season prior to that. They shortened the line instantly in 1995. It went from 9.9 3-pointers per game to 15.3 3-pointers per game. So that's over a 50% markup. Not only that, they ended up going from shooting 33.3% to 35.9%, so close to 36%. So almost a 10% markup in percentage. The next year, they proceeded to shoot 16 3-pointers per game. So they even went up from 15 to 16 3-pointers per game. The field goal percentage went up to 36.7% in 1996. In 1997, the last year that they actually shortened the line, they went up to 16.8 3-pointers per game as a team, and they were shooting 36%. As soon as the NBA dropped the line in 1998, they went down to taking less than 13 3-pointers per game from taking almost 17, and they went to shooting 34% at the 3-point line.
Okay. Yeah, they couldn't shoot. And these old heads want to act like
we all know
these old heads want to act like they can shoot.
We all know that they moved the line in to invite players to take more threes. That was the whole purpose. We did
Why
that.
did they need to move the line in to invite players to shoot it?
That was the whole. That's what the Stern wanted to do for the league. He wanted.
No, why?
Don't tell me they couldn't shoot, because the guys that could shoot could shoot. You tell me Dennis Scott couldn't shoot? You telling me Dale Ellis couldn't shoot? These guys, they were shooting. The thing is, like I said, they were inviting guys. You had no movement taking threes back then, right?
King Rowe, what you're forgetting is, go back to what Johnny said.
I got you.
We never said that there weren't guys in the league who couldn't shoot. We're saying there are more 3-point shooters today, which allows teams overall to shoot more threes. Just like I pointed out with Ray Allen's roster with Seattle, when you only have 2 guys on the team that could shoot 38 to 40% from the 3-point line, well, you're probably not going to be taking that many threes as a team overall. But when you have rosters in today's game where you have 8, 9, and 10 guys who can shoot the 3 at an elite level, of course your team is going to be able to take more threes, because that's part of their skill set.
Because the game changed, and the game changed before the player changed. There's no more Reggie Evans in the league. There's no more Nick Collinsons in the league. We understand.
Yes, there are. Hold on. Yes, there is.
It's like one per roster.
Same guys. Hold on. Those same guys now are coming into the league with a 3-point shot.
A 3-point shot. I got you. Like a PJ Tucker.
So you cannot no longer come into the league like a Reggie Evans. If you cannot shoot that Reggie Evans back then, you're going to look like Giannis Antetokounmpo, sitting on the bench and out the league. You got to add that to your game now to be relevant. So again, of course, there's never going to be another Reggie Evans, because those unskilled type of guys won't cut it no more.
What they're going to do is practice more 3-point shooting at the earlier levels. Again, which is, you got to remember, Jordan in his high school career didn't have a 3-point line at any level. They had a minimum. They had a minimal 3-point line in college. Even Reggie Miller didn't have a 3-point line.
Lamont, he said high school.
So
why high school and college?
They didn't have a 3-point line in college.
High school and college, they didn't adopt universal 3-point line in college until '87, right?
What you're doing, Rowe, still makes no sense. If you're going to tell us that Jordan had a disadvantage because he didn't have,
I didn't say it was a disadvantage.
Listen to what I'm saying. If you're going to tell us that Jordan had a disadvantage because he didn't have a 3-point line in high school, then why are you trying to sell us on that he was a 3-level scorer? Just admit he wasn't a 3-level scorer. He wasn't this elite scorer that y'all were making him out to be. He was just a 2-level scorer. And quit trying to add stuff to his game that he didn't have. He was not a 3-level scorer. You cannot run around shooting 18 and 16 and 27% from the 3 and be parading yourself as a 3-level scorer. You were not.
Also, just to add more context to real information instead of Zesty Jeffrey lies, in 1995, when the NBA shortened the 3-point line and they were shooting at 36% as a league, there was only 60 players in the NBA that could shoot at 35% or better from 3-point land at a lower volume. In today's NBA, there's over 120 players that shoot above 35% from 3-point land at a higher value. Yep. So it is clear there are twice as much 3-point shooters in this league, which is why guys like Reggie Evans, Dale Ellis, Dale Davis, Antonio Davis would never last in today's NBA because they would be useless. Anybody can rebound, not anybody can shoot. Okay, so at the end of the day, get that out of the way. Like, y'all got to stop this. Today's NBA is just better. I don't know why we arguing when we're supposed to be basketball fans about how great basketball is. Don't make no sense.
Lamont, hey Johnny, but we already know that everybody that actually watched the game, that really like actually watch multiple games instead of 18, people see that teams that can't shoot, they don't shoot the most threes. They're at the bottom in the league in threes. We all know that. But for the older heads that swear they taking all these threes and making all these threes, no, the role players that's sitting in the corner, that role player that's sitting in the corner is taking all these threes, but wide open threes. And they actually making them at a high clip. So I don't get why it's just these old niggas been lying to us since we was kids. Now, since I was a kid growing up, all the old heads used to be like, yeah, Larry Bird, yeah, he was a monster. Like, he didn't have no flaws in his game. And then when you go actually look at the stats and what he was doing from the regular season to the playoffs, you would, if you looked at Larry Bird playoff stats and how he played terrible in the playoffs. He was terrible.
Yeah, but here's the thing. The fans back then, the fans of the day are so toxic, and these dudes, what they do is they allowed you to be human back then.
Right.
You can have a bad game. You were afforded the ability. You didn't have to be perfect, right? You didn't have to drop 50 and win at the same time. You didn't have to make every clutch shot. All fans asked of the stars back then was just come through more often than not, which is what great players of the day do. Come through more often than not, and we're not going to hold you to ridiculous standards if we know they don't necessarily apply. So if you're walking around and your team is in the garbage can, or if your two best players next to you get hurt, there is not going to be a high level expectation that we want you to win a championship. We just want you to go out there and do what you do. And they were more reasonable. But now all of a sudden, I mean, you got guys like KD, both of his two best players go down. He single-handedly almost wins an entire playoff series. He goes one toe from advancing, and guys are running around saying he's not clutch, he's choking, and they got all these labels for him. It's just like LeBron comes out and plays one of the greatest playoff games I've ever seen in my life, 51 points versus the Golden State Warriors. J.R. Smith makes one of the biggest mistakes we've ever seen in playoff history. Guys are going to run around and say LeBron choked. LeBron literally led both teams in every statistical category in the NBA Finals. Because his team was dealing with injuries, they didn't have the guns. People are running around saying he choked. Like, the standard that they put on these players today, and that's why I said, is you can never earn these old heads respect. Remember, they were talking about, oh yeah, respect earned is respect given. Y'all never gonna. You put a standard on these young players that y'all yourselves never lived up to. The stuff that Barkley says about today's players. When you look at Barkley, ate himself out the league. He was fat. He was out of shape. He didn't work half the time, and he was really only good because he was just better than everybody for a small amount of time. But at the end of the day, he did everything that he complains about. He complains about Jokic and Luka Doncic. Yet all he did was he talks about eating Pizza Hut pizza before games.
And he didn't have no defense.
Lamont, you know there's footage of Charles Barkley literally saying, yo, I never remember losing in the playoffs by 31 points. And they pulled the footage. And not only him losing by 31 points in the playoffs, plus he was 0 for 10 in that playoff game. Completely horrible in that game. Completely garbage, hot garbage. Now, I joined the live because I really wanted to discuss this idea that all you got to do is foul Stephen Curry, and all of a sudden he's going to miss 3-pointers. Like, he's not. So him going to the free throw line as a 90% free throw shooter doesn't mean nothing. You can just send him to the free throw line 10, 12 times to make 10 free throws because you can't guard him. Aren't they admitting right there, Lamont, that they played no defense? If that's what you're saying,
what I said. Isn't that changed it to something else?
But that admits you can't play defense. But what I said, Johnny, was I said what they're trying. When they say that the hard fouls, what on the slick way when Stephen A. says that, what he's trying to say is we're gonna foul you hard, and it's gonna make you too scared to shoot or drive for the rest of the game, and that's why you're not gonna score. So they're still trying to allude to them fouling with you being soft, because we all know that hack Steph Curry.
Yeah,
all day.
facts.
The man's
Yeah.
gonna go 20 or 20 from the free throw line, and he's still gonna get his 35 points.
He's being condescending. Basically,
And he don't shoot a lot of free throws anyway right now. So
yeah, he was trying to say we're not saying this because they're not skilled, but like you said, he hinted to them just being soft, basically saying we're gonna foul you so much. And like I forgot who said this. Somebody said this. Gilbert Arenas has said this. He said, "What do you think Stephen Curry's gonna think after a while when he realizes all you're doing is fouling him? That you really can't guard him. All that's gonna do is build his confidence. That's it. Like that's
exactly.
Like that's all that's gonna do to him. Like what are we talking about?
They couldn't do nothing with Reggie Miller, and Steph way better than Reggie Miller. So that's why that's why when I be listening to these old heads when they be talking, and I be like, bro, all y'all do, you could tell that when y'all was growing up, y'all was listening to Skip Bayless. That's why all the quotes Skip Bayless got, y'all actually put on the players like Westbrook, like Lil Bum, and all that garbage. Like y'all listen to Skip Bayless when Brian had a 20-point game in the finals. But he ended up averaging over 30 against Golden State when they came back from 3-1, talking about Kyrie should have won Finals MVP because he had one game. And then even Stephen A had to come out and be like, bro, that was one game. If you look at what LeBron did, he Finals MVP. That's how the old heads be acting. And that's why. But it even happened in regular life, bro. It even happened in regular life. These young females that they be trying to, what's the name? We get to get them. We getting them for free. They trying to pay for them, and they get to hating on you, bro. Like it happened all through life, dog.
And hey, Johnny, you know what they say? Especially one of the guys that runs his mouth the most about this, Gary Payton, right? And I even read off his comment because he talked about how he would his hand check would be this unstoppable force that would really shut guys down. Let me tell y'all how effective his hand check was just versus the best players of the 90s, okay? In the 90s, and I'm going to go to just his individual matchup. First, I'm going to go to point guards. Tim Hardaway, when matched up versus Gary Payton, averaged 25 points per game and 12 assists. And he had his game high versus Gary Payton was 35 and 13. We go to John Stockton. John Stockton averaged 19.8 points per game and 12 assists, and his high versus Gary Payton was 28 points and 14 assists. Kevin Johnson went with head to head with Gary Payton. His high was 36 and 12, and he averaged 22 points per game and 8 assists. And we can keep going down. Allen Iverson, obviously, we know that was a nightmare. Allen Iverson, as a rookie, dropped 40 on Gary Payton in '96. So the rest didn't go too well. Even when you go to Iverson, this is what I'm saying. So if we can go to guys like Tim Hardaway, we go to guys like Kevin Johnson, and your hand check didn't stop them. Why the hell are we supposed to believe your hand check didn't even stop John Stockton? So if your hand check didn't even stop these guys, why the hell should we believe your hand check is going to stop the greatest shooter that we've ever seen with our own two eyes in Steph Curry? Come on, man. This is how you know they just they just.
You know what's funny? You know what? Hold on, wait. I think I know what a Hall of Famer said this, and this is another thing about Stephen A. Smith that I think we need to expose today, Lamont, is that Kevin Durant said, no, it wasn't Jordan. Kevin Durant stated this, that he said he's been in the league for 17 years and he's never seen Stephen A. Smith at a practice, anywhere near the facility, talking to anyone, with any GM, and we know he's been on several teams. So he says Stephen A. Smith is not in the loop. Stephen A. Smith is stating this because I believe Tim Hardaway said this, and I've been trying to look for the clip where Tim Hardaway said this about Stephen Curry. I believe Tim Hardaway is the guy who said that if Stephen Curry played in my era, that we would hack him. He wouldn't get past his ankle injuries because we would get physical.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, Johnny. Yeah, I seen a clip of him saying something like that.
I believe Tim Hardaway is the guy who said
point,
it.
Johnny.
And I don't think he ever said it to Stephen A. Smith. So Stephen A. Smith is on television again, capping like usual because he's not in loops. He's not no Hall of Famers reaching out to Stephen A. Smith besides Michael Jordan. Nobody else is trying to reach out to him and talk to him.
And you know why he's trying to talk to him? He trying
And
to
see,
keep
that's
his
the
name
thing, though,
alive because
Johnny.
Brian erasing his name.
Right. You see, and that's the thing, though, Johnny. That's the thing. Because every time when any one person talks to Stephen A. Smith, Stephen A. Smith will literally take everything with the conversation that was supposed to be and then regurgitate it and take it out of context. Why do you think LeBron James went to Pat McAfee for a reason? Because he knows that Pat McAfee is going to be straightforward with him and is going to allow him to explain his truth. And the bottom line is Stephen A. Smith is always going to contradict everything. And that's why many people around are seeing what he actually really is. And in terms of what he said, what Tim Hardaway said in terms of that quote that Stephen A. Smith was referring to, let's be honest with something here. See, Tim Hardaway was the originator of the Youth Step 1-2 crossover, but if we're being honest with ourselves, he couldn't hold a lick with any of the other guards that was burning him alive. So let's stop the nonsense. And more importantly, the hand check. Listen, I'm going to tell you something right now. If any person in a 24-hour fitness gym or whatever, or Lifetime Fitness try to do a hand check, if you went up against like a T2 type of player and try to hand check him, he will take your hand check and basically break your ankle. Literally.
Yo, are you Bomani? Is that Bomani Jones?
Who?
Dude that was just talking.
No.
No, it's Mahari Nation.
No, I'm kidding. You just sound just like him, brother.
That's all good, man.
Anyways, let me get up out of here. Y'all enjoy yourselves. The Lakers about to play. We about to watch the real good basketball.
Hey, salute to Johnny. Good stuff, man.
All right,
peace,
Johnny.
brother. Y'all be good.
Hey, Johnny, I'm gonna be over there to troll in a minute.
Oh yeah, I know. As soon as the Lakers go down, you'll be trolling, but don't worry, they're gonna be winning tonight, baby. Parade on Crenshaw, baby. Parade on Crenshaw.
Hey, I just want to say something real quick. Hey, bless up to Lamont on the panel. Real quick. Just want to point something out about Jordan. Talking about his 3-point shooting. What was it? 1990, 38% on 3+. I think around 3 attempts. 93, about three attempts, 35%. So 38%, definitely above league average. 35%, I want to say, is around league average. My point, and that was from the original 3-point line. My point in bringing up those two particular years is just to point out. And then you have his playoff numbers too from the original line. He consistently, altogether, cumulatively shot above 35%. I say that to say that, given those 2 seasons, I believe that's enough evidence to say that if he made it a focal point of his game, he'd be at worst an average 3-point shooter.
No, it's not. Players have outlier seasons all the time. Is that true? Is that a true or false statement? Don't players have outlier seasons all the time from 3-point range and stuff like that?
Hold on, y'all. Hold on. Peter Bag Juice. Jordan in the playoffs shot 32% from the 3-point line.
I was just about to point that out.
What combined? You combine 32% with what, and you get average. 32% is already below average. So are we saying if we combine Jordan below average regular season, his far below average regular season versus his below average playoffs, and we somehow get average? Below average and below average don't equal average. It equals way below average. What are you talking about, man?
Oh my God.
Basketball, y'all, is simple. Basketball is you are what your numbers say. If you are a bad free throw shooter, you know where it's going to show? In your free throw percentage. If you're bad, if you're bad in anything, it's going to show, especially on the offensive end. It's just going to show in the numbers. You are your numbers. Like I hear coaches tell players that all the time. You know, I had a kid. You know, I had a kid that I was trying to get recruited from this one college, and the first thing the coach was, "Let me see his numbers." And coach said, "Well," he said, "Lamont, man, this guy only averaged 5 points a game." And I was like, yeah, opportunity X, Y, and Z. He said, well, at the end of the day, this motherfucker only averaged 5 points a game.
Right.
I mean, you are your numbers. He's like, I don't care how you slice it. 5 points a game is 5 points a game. You can paint it up. You can dress it how you want. Because he even looked, he said, because I even told the coach, man, he's a good 3-point shooter. Well, the man shot 26% from the 3-point line. Well, no matter how I tried to dress it up, do you think I was ever going to convince this coach that this guy was a good player and a great 3-point shooter? You are your numbers. And when y'all try to dress this shit up and you try to put all this extra sauce on Jordan 3-point shooting, it just makes y'all look dumb. Jordan was the one that went into the 3-point contest, shot 5 of 30. His career was filled with a whole bunch of 3-point misses. Half the time he didn't even take the threes. There's plenty of film of teams not even defending him on the 3-point line.
Going under the screen, letting them shoot.
So at the end of the day, they treated him like a guy that couldn't shoot threes. His numbers looked like a guy that couldn't shoot threes. His playoffs numbers looked like a guy that couldn't do threes. And you guys tried to glorify the highlight versus the Blazers to try to pretend that he was an elite 3-point shooter. He had a flaw. It was 3-point shooting. It's okay.
And the left hand. His left hand was trash for the first half of his career, bro. And if you actually go back and watch games, Lamont, and you be like, bro, they be missing bunnies. Like they be really missing layups. And they want to tell us that these players is more players is just as skilled as the players today. That's cap.
So you said 90s players was a bunch of Angel Reese's Q? That's what you said?
Lamont, tell them what we was looking at the other night.
Yep.
Tell them about the 77 All-Star game we was watching the other night.
Oh, yeah. Let me show it again.
Please. Show it to these old bozos.
Uh-oh.
Man, I can't believe this, man. Y'all be really...
What counts as old? What's the threshold?
This look like some 7-year-olds at the YMCA.
What's the threshold for old? 35 plus?
You said go back and watch.
That's what they say. Go back and watch these
guys.
It's the old head mindset. It's the mindset of that you think you can just
fuck
lie.
The age. It's the mindset.
And it wasn't enough film. It wasn't enough film out at first to even go back and watch and be like,
we got receipts.
Yeah, go back and watch like, oh yeah, Larry Bird playoff stats. If you go look at Larry Bird first 5, 6, 7, 8 seasons, and you will see his stats in the playoffs, all his stats go down for most of the years. And his percentage.
Not even that. You used to hear some back in the day. You used to hear so many people say, "Man, he used to glide through the air. He used to drop 50 a game." Now you can go to Basketball Reference and see something totally opposite. You can go to YouTube and see the basketball historians upload games every day and see the total opposite. Yep. Like, what the hell? This what Dad was telling us about?
Yep. Talking about he had a 48-inch vertical. I'd be like, bro, y'all he never recorded that. Y'all don't even know what his vertical is, and it definitely ain't 48.
Hey, let me point out one thing, though, about Michael Jordan, though. And I think that it also ties in with the Detroit Pistons, philosophy of how they defended against Jordan. Remember when Isaiah Thomas talked about on the All the Smoke podcast, anytime that Jordan was in the middle of the floor, send him left. Baseline, send him left. Why? Because he basically did everything with his right hand. He had no left hand. I mean, you look back in his tapes, though, bro, and I'm a Jordan fan, but I'm here to tell you that Michael had no left hand, and he had no left-hand dribble either. That's why Kenny Smith was able to burn him all the time in college, because he had no handle. He only had one handle with his right hand. He never had a left-hand handle.
Yep, but when you playing one-on-one, it's easier to get away with that.
Yep, but in a structured
nowadays, go ahead.
Now I was going to say, to your point, in a structured game, those weaknesses can be exposed now and can be exploited even more. But go ahead.
Yep, you playing zone. That zone would have changed a lot in the 90s. I was watching the game the other day with my pops, and you see the defense that's being played, bro. Y'all talking about that's defense, bro. I seen people getting straight to the rim.
Yep,
missing bunnies.
Right. And here's the other thing. And here's the other thing too. When you look at the legal defense guideline rules, they forbid zone defense. It was mostly one-on-one isolation type basketball. Why do you think a lot of the centers were able to get a lot of one-on-one matches? Because you could not zone up against those guys.
Even
the NBA would not allow that.
Even the guards was getting one-on-one matchups. Look at them.
Exactly.
Look at Iverson. Look at Nick Van Exel. Look at Tim Hardaway. Look at look at the dude that had Tourette's. What was his name? Played for the Nuggets.
Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf.
Yeah. Look at them. It's just ISO 15 feet away from the basket, one-on-one. No help side, no nothing.
And if you help,
no
you
got
got
weak side help.
Yeah, and if you help, you got a hard double. And you hard double the players today, bro. People wide open running to the rim, bro. Yep. That's what I'm saying, bro. People would have been wide open. And back in the day, I used to see players used to try to make them
Brick and
passes. I'd be
shits.
like, they passing was horrible. Playmaking was terrible.
Guys
They
from the
playmaking
guys
and
in the
IQs
corner.
is terrible. Y'all want to talk about high IQ and all that, man? Bro, the 1900s basketball, stop comparing it to today. Now, y'all can say it was great for the era it was in, bro, but they is not more skilled than the players today or the 2000s. Like, but they done sold us this lie for 20 years, but now everybody that was kids grown now and actually can get to go back and watch basketball and be like, bro, this
Right.
basketball is terrible compared to today.
True.
Evolution. Evolution.
Evolution, and then
it's-
also the fact that basketball is much more skilled now because it's basically much more emphasis on training and much more skilled level. This is what, and let me tell you this. I talked with a group of OGs that tried to make the claim that Charles Oakley would make it in today's NBA. And I flat out said, and I told them, pull the tape. Let's pull up the tape. What does Charles Oakley do well? Just
They can't
defend
tell
and
you. They
rebound.
can't tell you. They couldn't tell you.
They
I
can't
guarantee
tell
you
you.
they couldn't tell you.
They couldn't tell me anything because Charles Oakley was just slow-footed and he was not athletic. That's why he had trouble finishing at the rim. I mean, I would watch Charles Oakley miss easy shots like right in front of the basket. Like literally.
Hey,
like I'm just sitting here like bro, do you I look at Charles Oakley's side, I'd like, dude, do you understand what your game is? Like you could not dribble. And every time when you try to dribble into the paint, you always turn the ball over. Like Kendrick Perkins. Come on, man.
Jared Vanderbilt. That's what he is. Jared Vanderbilt.
Hey, real quick, I want to revisit the Jordan 3-point shooting thing just for a second. So I just want some clarity here. So career 3-point percentage, I believe LeBron's at 34% off of memory. I believe Kobe was around 33% or something like that. So I wanted to ask Lamont, what is considered average? We going off of league average?
Bron,
And if so, what is the number?
Look, hold on. Bron started off his career as a poor 3-point shooter. Over the last couple of years, he's garnered the reputation as an above average 3-point shooter. He's become better at it. So again, we never saw that level of improvement with Jordan. And the only time we actually saw improvement in Jordan's game as a 3-point shooter, where he was actually taking them at a competent rate, at a competent volume, was when they pushed the 3-point line into a ridiculous length for NBA players. He was just taking long twos essentially. When they pushed it back out, at best he was shooting like 1.4 a game, if even that. But outside of that, remember, when you're a basketball player, you don't shoot shots that you're not good at. You only take shots that you're good at. And if you're a good 3-point shooter, you ain't going to, like, for example, there was no coach in the world that was going to stop Craig Hodges, Steve Kerr, Sam Cassell, Kenny Smith, Dale Ellis, Reggie Miller from shooting threes because they were good 3-point shooters. The only thing that stops you from doing something as an NBA player, especially when you have the opportunity and the ball as much as Jordan, is the fact that you aren't very good at it. So the fact that you got to slice and dice this up to try to warp some narrative, he was just a bad 3-point shooter.
You agree?
Any other
So
way,
hold on, guys. Let me just get a little ISO here with Lamont, if I could.
Why is this a conversation? He was a bad 3-point shooter. It's okay.
So no, I'm gonna cut the ring off on you. So you didn't tell me a number. Earlier you said your numbers determine, what you are.
What number? What number do you want? What number?
I don't know. I asked you what you consider to be the average. What would be an average 3-point shooter, as far as percentage wise?
Today.
Mm-hmm.
In today's game, average is 35%.
Okay. And LeBron, because earlier you said about 15 minutes ago, the numbers are the numbers. So all that garnered a reputation, and then you move the goalpost by
LeBron
saying
an elite 3-point shooter, though.
Okay, so he's below average as a 3-point shooter.
But by your logic,
and if you say that,
I got this ISO, bro. Space the floor, brother. Space
you
the floor, brother.
make some dumbass questions, man.
Hey, Q.
Let him go at it. Let him go at it, Q.
If you want to say LeBron, because since you want to use LeBron as your baseline example, if you want to say LeBron's a below average 3-point shooter for his career, I'm not going to argue on that. Did he get better later? I don't think LeBron has been good enough for his entire career for me to run around saying he's an elite 3-point shooter. Did he get better towards the end? Yeah. But if you want to say he's a below average or maybe close to average 3-point shooter based on his numbers, I'm fine with that. And I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to pick years to try to paint a different picture. I'm just going to tell you, at the end, he got a little bit better, but for the duration of his career, there's no one with a brain that's going to run around saying he was an elite three-point shooter, just like you're trying to paint with Michael Jordan. So again, I'm not going to fight you on LeBron because LeBron's numbers are who he was. His numbers are better now because that's who he was. His numbers were bad back then because that's who he was. Jordan's numbers were bad because that's who he was at the three-point line in the playoffs and in the regular season.
So you agree with the brother who said that 90 and 93 were outlier seasons. So those are 3 attempts a game, 38% and 35%. No, I'm not slicing and dicing. I'm giving you 2 seasons. Those are real numbers. 3+ attempts or around 3 attempts, 38% and 90.
Don't make you elite at anything.
So those, I never claimed him to be elite. I said
2
if you
seasons
were
don't
to
make you average.
Yeah, like what?
I said 33% in the playoffs is right around average. For playoff 3-point shooting, that's right around average.
He shot
nobody
32%
called
in the
Brown a
playoffs,
great
not
three-point
33%.
shooter.
First of all, he shot 32% in the playoffs. So
No,
you trying to add
33.
a-
I just went on Basketball Reference.
looking at- bro, I'm
33%.
looking at it right now in front of me.
Who
It's
shot 33% in the
32%.
playoffs?
30.
It's 30. It's right now. Playoff stats. 32.7%. You trying to add points?
Okay.
You round it up. 30.
No. Basketball Reference says 33.2. So maybe they got it wrong. I don't
Basketball
know.
Reference literally says 32.7%. I'm looking at it right now. You
Who
want me to
y'all
put it on the
talking about?
screen?
LeBron or Jordan?
No, we're talking about Jordan in the playoffs. Shot 32.7% in the playoffs.
What year?
I don't know why you're trying to even 33% is still below average. It's still bad, right?
What year?
No, that's his career in the
Oh,
playoffs.
career. Oh.
No,
Yeah.
that was
But
for his
Lamont-
career, 13 years.
Lamont,
It says 33.2.
Yeah,
I'm
it says
looking
33.
dead at it
Oh my
right
God.
now.
33%.
Bro,
Yeah, I don't
Lamont,
know. I
nobody
don't know
say
what
Brown
Lamont
is a
looking
great
at.
3-point shooter, though. They just say he better than Jordan.
Which he is.
Yeah, nobody say LeBron is a great 3-point shooter, even though we got multiple seasons of him shooting high percentage over league average. You tried to pick 2 years. I can pick the last 2 years for Brian. That means nothing.
Yeah, no, that'd be like me using Bron's last 2 years to say he's an elite 3-point shooter for his career.
Yeah, like that's goofy.
Not. It's stupid.
Again, I never said anything of the sort. I said those 2 years for me indicate that if he were to make it a focal point of his offense,
Did he make it a focal point?
No.
Why?
Because
Okay,
he didn't
so
want.
hold on. Let's just stop there. Jordan never made it a focal point. He told the world why he didn't make it a focal point. His numbers show it was never a focal point. So you trying to add ifs into his game to try to add more mythicism onto who he was. Oh, if he would have did this, he would have been. No, if anybody would have done anything more, we can do ifs to everybody. You are
Just speak
what
on
your
what happened.
numbers say. His numbers say that he was a bad 3-point shooter. It's over with. He's not going to play no more. He's not dribbling the basketball no more. He can't go fix or repair those numbers. It looks like a scar. It looks ugly. You Jordan fans just like perfection for whatever reason. Jordan was not perfect. I don't care if he would have done anything more, then he should have took his ass in the gym and worked on his 3-point shot. It's too late for ifs. That shit is over with. He didn't work on it. He wasn't any good at it. He bricked a whole bunch of them. Teams defended him like he was a trash 3-point shooter, and he was a trash 3-point shooter. Why are you trying to dress it up to like this man was out there like Craig Hodges or some shit?
Not dressing it up. I go by the numbers. I didn't
What
dress
numbers?
up anything. 33% in the
is trash.
playoffs. 33% in the playoffs is right around average. That's average, not trash.
33% is not average. It's below average.
What's the average in the playoffs for 3-point percent shooting?
NBA
It's
average.
35% in the regular season, right?
Okay, so you tell me. If you
No,
call
that's
it
what you said.
33%
You
average,
said 35% in the regular season.
I said in today's game, 35% is average.
In the regular season, right?
Yes.
Right. I'm working off the assumption that in the playoffs it goes down maybe a point or two.
Okay.
Is that fair? I mean, I could look it up.
Okay. We'll look at
Is that fair or
no?
I mean,
No, that's goofy because it's also got something to do with volume too. That's
Hey,
why.
Q.
That's why your whole argument is goofy.
Why are you so rude, Q?
How? I just said that's a goofy take because it's also got something to do with volume. If
Hold on,
somebody
full
take
screen.
one shot,
Lamont, he was
if
referring
somebody
to
take 1
playoffs.
3 a game and they shooting
It is
50%,
playoff. Look what it says. Jordan's career playoff 3-point field goal percentage was what?
No, that's
Yeah, it says.
overall, don't it?
Yes,
Well, no,
overall.
below it says 32.7 when it says 3-point
Above
field
it
goal
says
percentage.
32.7. What are you talking about, man?
No, and below also.
That's 15 years. That's his 15-year career. But the
That's his
playoffs,
career.
yeah, but
This
the
is
playoffs.
No, it says right here, playoffs.
Yeah, below it specifies playoffs. Above it says overall. So it
No,
says the
says
same for
playoffs.
both.
What are you talking about?
No, it says playoff. Oh my God,
bro,
it
it say
says
playoff stats, 3-point field goal percentage, 32.7. I know we
right,
can
and
read.
above playoff stats it says overall. It says the same percentage in both cases anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Oh my God.
But just
Go
above.
to reference right quick. Go to basketball reference right quick.
Bro, I'm not
Yeah,
about to
I'm
sit
not-
here and argue
I'm
with
not
32
making-
and 33%. It's both trash.
It's average. It's
For
not
sure,
trash.
for sure. But go to
It's
basketball
average.
No.
Hey, Peter, I don't even know why you want to bring it up. Jordan not playing no more, man. In the next
I
10
didn't bring
years,
up Jordan.
hey, in the
Lamont
next
brought up
10
Jordan.
years, Jordan is not going to be talked about. So just leave it at that.
Shit, that's big cap.
Hey, the young dog.
Hey,
be
Peter
Wilt.
Backjuice. So could Steph play in this? Could Giannis and Steph play in this right here?
Oh man, the other people gone.
Well, the Steph Curry take is stupid. I don't agree with that.
Well, that's what we was talking about.
Yeah,
And the Jordan take is
I don't
stupid
agree
too.
with
Making
that.
up imaginary 3-point abilities for him.
Yep.
Nah,
And
Jordan,
Lamont, you can't bring up Jordan's name at all.
Jordan just
You bring
that
his
nigga,
name
man.
up, all the defenders come out.
Jordan just a one of one, bro. Listen. I didn't make
33% on 2 attempts is trash. I'm sorry.
Trash.
Look, brothers. I didn't create the rules. I just live in the world. You feel me? And Jordan is just that dude. It ain't nothing we could do about it.
When did we say he
that
wasn't?
dude in the 90s. He ain't that dude no more.
No,
When did
he's that dude. Like in 100 years, he's probably gonna be deified. Like
Yeah,
he's
but Peter Backjuice, who's up here arguing that he's not nice?
you talking about he trash at the
Okay,
3
listen to
point.
what I'm saying.
He
Hold
ain't
on,
got
hold
no
on.
left hand.
Hold on. Let me. Shaquille O'Neal was trash from the free throw line. Does that mean Shaquille O'Neal was not
Thank
nice?
you. Wait, what?
David Robinson and Hakeem Olajuwon were trash from the 3-point line. Does that mean they're not nice? Just because somebody has a deficiency don't mean they're not nice. That's just you wanting Jordan to be perfect.
Nah, the no left hand slander.
When did I say anything about a left hand?
Somebody else said that, brother.
Yeah, some other duck said it. I think it was Q.
And at the end of the day, I'm not the one said anything about his left hand. The Detroit Pistons scouting report said push him left. And they're the ones that wiped him down 3 times in the playoffs. So obviously it must have worked to a certain degree. So it's the team that was most successful versus Jordan. One of the primary elements to their Jordan rules in their scouting report was sending them left. And you want me to believe that his left was some crazy strength that wasn't a flaw? You guys don't want his left to be a flaw, but the Pistons sure enough thought it was a flaw. Wonder why he couldn't beat Isaiah. Wonder why he couldn't beat Bird. Wonder why he couldn't beat Milwaukee. Wonder why he couldn't beat any of the super teams of the 80s. Because they exploited that left hand.
Yeah, okay. But
the Milwaukee
Steph
Bucks,
thing,
who arguably the Milwaukee Bucks next to the Pistons, arguably was probably the second best defensive team of the 80s. Did they have any problems guarding Jordan and when they pushed him left?
I don't know.
No.
I think didn't Jordan
swept
cook?
No,
Jordan cooked
they
in that
swept.
series,
No,
didn't he?
They swept. No, hold on. What I'm saying is, you're successful when you win the series. Why on the scouting report was one of the elements to the Jordan rules pushing him left?
Yeah, because he was. It's kind of like his right hand is an atomic bomb, and his left hand is a Chinese AK-47.
Okay, and so Peter Backjuice, when you call people, when you say that people are glazing LeBron, how are you not glazing Jordan?
Please.
How's that a glaze? His left is not as good as his right. but it's still an AK. It'll still knock a limb off.
Well, let me ask you a question.
That right hand and level a whole city.
Let me ask you one question. Name 5 Jordan weaknesses.
Crickets.
Probably. All right, let's see. Garden. What's the term I'm looking for? Guys who work mostly off the ball, like your Reggie Miller and those type of guys.
Name 5 Jordan weaknesses that you haven't heard online already.
What kind of question is that?
When you watch Jordan, what weaknesses do you see?
So if you're willing
No. He asked something way more specific than that.
Hold on. If you're willing to say that his right hand was an atomic bomb and his left hand was an AK, that would tell me that you should know a lot about Michael Jordan. Tell me his weaknesses outside of the ones that went viral.
Well, Lamont, he doesn't have many flaws to begin with. So,
Hey,
like,
no.
What do you
know Jordan? If you know Jordan's game, and if you
I can't name 5. I can't name 5.
And you're not a
matter
glazer.
of fact, I can't name one that hasn't been this ridiculous stipulation.
Now do y'all see? This is why these guys should never call LeBron fans LeBron glazing or none of these gay innuendos that they always do. Because when we ask them to name 5 weaknesses of Jordan, which should be very obvious because every player has weaknesses, especially when you go to both sides of the basketball, and you are struggling just to name one and you're just a glazer. You just riding Jordan. You want to pretend. You're literally making a case that he's a great 3-point shooter. He could have been great if he'd have worked on it.
Brother, you still here?
We got to shut this down, man. We got to shut this one down, man. Come on, man. This is wild. That we got to go to arguments like this, man. Yeah, no, we still here.
No, but Lamont, you sliced the cheese like really thin. Like what? Because you didn't just say just name 5. You said name 5 that are novel, basically. That have never,
I said
never
name
been
5 that are not viral.
Like, right. So what Jordan's game has been analyzed every which way from Sunday. So what part of his game wouldn't be viral?
You're a Jordan fan. You should know better than all of us.
Yes, and I'm telling you, there are no weaknesses that haven't went quote unquote viral. So why don't you help me out?
If you know things like Jordan's left hand was an AK, how do you not know his weaknesses?
Because he doesn't have any outside what have been, talked about in the press, quote unquote viral.
So you don't know Jordan's game.
Okay, to the guy who says, "Wow, name him. Name some that."
No.
Remember the stipulation.
Hold on. You're the Jordan fan. Why are you trying to flip questions that you should be able to answer on to us? Because I know how I have them. But what you want is me to provide you with the answer, and then you're just going to fight me on the answers. I
already answered. What you want from? I answered.
You answered because you don't know any. Because you never looked at Jordan as having any flaws. You only looked at him as perfection. If you're not even willing to conclude that he was a bad 3-point shooter because you're writing him so hard, even though his numbers support that he was a horrible 3-point shooter. You don't even want to concede to the obvious. So how can we trust you to concede to other things that aren't as obvious if you aren't even able to concede to the most obvious weakness, which is 3-point shooting? You don't know his game. You just fanned out.
No, the numbers say average.
No, it's okay to be fanned out. Just be fanned out and be delusional with it as well. And then apply delusional standards to other players that are not named Michael Jordan, which is what y'all do. And this is indicative of his entire conversation. Jordan fans create standards that they aren't willing to apply to Jordan himself, but they apply and want other players to hold on to these standards. Right? They want players today to respect them and give them the utmost praise, which for the most part they do. Yet they only bash and tear down this era of players and say that everything that they do, walk, talk, breathe, on or off the court is trash, soft. It's the rules, it's them, they're soft, they're shooting too many threes. When they don't shoot threes, they need to shoot threes. Y'all have a gripe and complaint. I told you, y'all like bitter baby mamas. Y'all cry and complain about every single thing that y'all can. And y'all literally made talking basketball extremely toxic. And I didn't kick him, y'all. He left on his own. I did not kick him. But we about to shut this one down. I'm not gonna let this one. I'm not gonna let it go on for 8 hours. We it was perfect timing that he hopped up out of here. We're gonna go ahead and shut this one down. I appreciate you pulling up, Olo, cooking with me on this one. He said, Lamar, ask him what LeBron's weak. And yeah, if I'd asked him what LeBron's weakness is, we'd have been here all day. He'd have had weakness after weakness after weakness after weakness after weakness. And that's where I say the glaze comes in. You just glazing and you just fanned out, man. So again, and that's what we need to start doing. Just start doing like LeBron and Draymond did, and just start calling people out for what they are. You just glazing, ask them questions, challenge them. You don't really know the game. Like I say, Molly asked Stephen A. Smith some very simple questions, challenged him. He don't know the game. He folded up. She said, "You're not talking about the game. You're talking about all this other stuff, shoes and weight training." Didn't nobody say nothing about all that.
You know it's bad when Molly cook you.
Yeah, and when Molly cooks you, that's how you know you need to go ahead and shut it down, Stephen A. Smith. Man, go ahead and get into them politics like you're trying to do, man. Run for president. Do something like that. This basketball stuff is over with, man. That's over with. But Olo, I'm gonna go ahead and drop you down, man. We're gonna go ahead and get this one wrapped up. I got some things I gotta get to. But I appreciate you. And like I said, I'm gonna hit you back on IG. I saw some of your messages in there, so I'm gonna make sure I touch base with you over there.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, look, man, it's FYF Sports, man. Another great podcast episode. Appreciate y'all pulling up, man. Salute to Jared in the chat, man. Jared, man. Long time no see. We got Lamar Jack. She said Jordan fans try to hide glaze. Yeah, they try to hide their glaze. And when you ask them questions, you can't even answer simple questions. And they'll be the first ones to just run around. LeBron this, LeBron that. Remember, Al, that's why I told Casual. The one thing you got to respect about LeBron fans is, one, they are just far more knowledgeable. And they're not as delusional. They can be delusional, but they're not as delusional as Jordan fans. And two, just like Peter Bagjuice was doing, they don't run around just bringing up LeBron in conversations that don't involve him. First thing Peter Bagjuice did was say, well, LeBron this. They're fanned out, man. So, it is what it is. Hey, salute, Autism Boy. Appreciate you for being a mod. Salute, Najee, the chosen one. T Killer, salute, man. Make sure y'all all sub up to my other channel, FYF Sports Clips. And if you want to send super chats when we're live, you can always go over to FYF Sports Clips to send super chats. Make sure I want to give a shout out to, hopefully I still got a super chat here. Is it here? Oh, it's not here. My bad. I had your super chat on the screen here. I think it was Muslim Made with the super chat. I appreciate you for coming through in the super chat, supporting the channel as well. And make sure we'll get to those. I'm sure they'll start coming through more frequently as we get through. But man, salute to everybody. If you did hit the Cash App, much appreciation. If you did hit the PayPal, much appreciation. We'll definitely get you shouted out on the next show. My right says I'll hit the Cash App. Oh, yeah, definitely, man. That'd be much appreciated, man. And salute to my right. I see you in here, one of the OGs of the channel as well, always coming through to support. But look, yeah, man, FYF Sports, another great podcast episode. I mean, shit, I was cool with the tax return. I know it's hard times right now. So, I'm not tripping at all. You hit me now, you hit me later, man. I just appreciate it, and shows me the real ones, man. Some of y'all come through, man, because y'all know YouTube be playing games, man. With this monetization, man, they play a lot of games, and like I say, it's not just me, it's all content. When Go James Kingdom is live, make sure y'all bless him and Ticket TV, Carcinos, because at the end of the day, YouTube is robbing everybody who's on YouTube. They are literally robbing everybody. They'll demonetize your content and still put ads on your videos and make money off of it, right? They'll take half the super chat money. They'll do anything to cut into profits. It's just funny that some of the shady stuff that YouTube will do. When I saw them demonetize the channel and still run ads on that channel, it's just like, okay, I thought the channel wasn't good enough for ads. They just don't want to pay you. So man, that's why I say any time you can support outside of YouTube, I'm all for it, man. And salute to one of our main sponsors, Dossier. Again, stay fresh this season. Dossier, spring fring, light, vibrant, and smooth. Perfect for game days or date nights. Make sure you go to dossier.co and get your fragrances. Use code FYF Sports. Man, for buy one, get one free deal. Make sure y'all check them out. But look, y'all, FYF Sports, another great podcast episode, y'all. We're going to be back with more sports and news, y'all. But until then, man, it's FYF Sports, and we out.